one of the super chats.
I drove my rusty pickup to the local game store door. Starfield gleamed upon the shelf, couldn't wait no more. Todd Howard spun his stories of galaxies afar, but when I fired up that game, I didn't get too far. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true. They boasted endless planets, each one unique and new. But after planet number 3, I'd seen a deja vu. The critics didn't love it, gave it mediocre scores. Just another space misfire echoed across the boards. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true. I searched for epic battles, but the AI wouldn't fight. Characters were wooden, and the dialogue was trite. Todd promised me the cosmos, but left me in the dust. Now I'm trading in this game, it's betrayed my trust. Oh, Todd, you weaved a fable of worlds beyond compare, but all I got were glitches and load screens everywhere. Still somehow I'm considering when the next game's nigh, 'cause hope's a stubborn thing, and I'll give it one more try. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I'll always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true.
So you wanna make a Lego game using some big property, but you already did Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Lord of the Rings. Well, I think there's still one option that you've yet to explore. It's the series about a girl and her robotic dinosaurs. Now I know what you're all thinking, hey, isn't this a bit of a stretch?
16 times the
fan base
detail.
has been shrinking. It might be pretty, but there's always a catch. I've only met one person in my whole damn life who had an insatiable horizon appetite. Everybody else doesn't care that much, but Herman Hulse doesn't really give a fuck. So here you go, world, it's Horizon again. If you got money, it's time to spend. It's got multiplayer, find a friend. Ooh, open up your mouth, girl, let me pour some Horizon in. It's sweet like honey, so give us all your money. Oh wait, oh fuck, I'm buying the game. I thought Horizon was as cool as Star Wars. I guess it turns out it's just kinda lame. Ooh, holy crap, oh no, why doesn't anybody care? Horizon is just as cool as all those other Lego games. Even though the evidence makes it seem like it's irrelevant, Lego Horizon flopped. I'm not sure why they bothered trying. Ooh, all of its fans must have been lying. Ooh, Lego Horizon flopped, H-O-R-I-Z-O-N. Skeep a doop bop boop deep a deep a doo da. Robodino skip bop skip bop. Deep a deep a deep a boo bop. Going till the doo dot beep bop a new tap.
Catch me outside. How's that day?
Horizon should never had a Lego game. Whoever greenlit that must have been fucking insane. Lego Horizon flopped. I'm not sure why they bothered trying. All of its fans must have been lying.
I'm vibing.
Lego Horizon flopped. Horizon. Guess Sony is gonna have to try again. Sorry Herman host. Guess he didn't make a new Star Wars after all. Sorry Herman host. Just another day of ya dropping the ball.
Booyah, everybody. Here we are. Back once again. Rocking and rolling. It's going to be a good day. We've got a lot we can talk about. And I'm here for it because we've got stuff like the AC Shadows preview embargo going and being lifted. That's crazy. We've got the showcase, of course, for Xbox's Developer Direct. That's happening. So we get to look at all of that. It's going to be some fun announcements, I believe. There's other things, like we actually got confirmation of the performance of Dragon Age the Veilguard. There's a massive shakeup at Warner Brothers, which is also really interesting. There's a lot that we can run through. The showcase for Xbox happens, or I should say is starting in 20 minutes. So we've got 20 minutes to burn before that, okay, everybody? Okay. I posted my impressions of AC Shadows on YouTube just when the embargo lifted like 38 minutes ago. And I encourage you to watch the video because then I'll get paid. But also, like, you know, from ad revenue. Somebody's going to be like, oh, clip that. See, you got paid. No, I didn't get paid. Okay. If they paid me for this, they could have paid for a more positive impression. No, my impressions of AC Shadows are a lot of, as I say here, a lot of what they showed was really impressive. Really impressive. Graphically, the weather systems, some of the dynamic AI stuff. There's a lot here that's really freaking cool. But there were a few things that are just like were not really shown in a lot of detail because of how they set up the preview, like side quests and open world exploration. We just couldn't do that because the world was not open to us. It was literally walled off with invisible walls, which again is kind of normal. Like at a preview, they're not going to show you everything that the game has. But this particular preview was just much more constrained than I personally would have liked. Especially, I mean, I think the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 preview honestly spoiled me because in that preview, we straight up got to just play the game from the start and do whatever we wanted with pretty much no restrictions. It was really cool. With this, it was a very specific and particularly like intentionally cut sliver of the game. And so we were just, you know, not shown the side stuff, which was frustrating because I feel like that's where this game potentially could excel or kind of fall apart. But having said that, the other thing I'm not convinced at all with is Yasuke. Joel Raptor actually put it really, really well. He said it's a world built for Nawe, and Yasuke's just in it. And I think that's accurate. Nawe is able to do these backflips. She's able to parkour with her grappling hook. She's able to do all these really cool things. And then Yasuke just kind of runs at walls. And it's a little jarring. And I honestly don't know why anybody would play with Yasuke if they have the option, which you do. You can choose to go with male or rather with Yasuke or with Nawe at pretty much any point. I understand the thought process. Like they said when they were exploring the setting, they loved the idea of being able to explore both the shinobi fantasy and then also the samurai fantasy at the same time. And so they were like, instead of making one character that just did it all, have a ninja samurai, which would just be like having a Superman character. They said, we're going to split it and we're going to have these two different characters that specialize in each one. And I get that. I understand that thought process. But I think the problem is that Assassin's Creed is so much about like traversal, the parkour, exploration, that in this case, one of the characters, Nawe, is infinitely better at that compared to Yasuke. So I just genuinely don't know why somebody would play through it with Yasuke, unless maybe they just really don't like stealth gameplay. And maybe that's the brilliance of this, is that it makes it so people who hate stealth games can still play it and have a good time. But for me, I just genuinely don't know why you would play Yasuke when Nawe controls better, has, in my opinion, cooler movesets, and is just more capable. That could change when we get the whole game and we find out more. But as of right now, I'm just like, I just don't know. I don't know, man. But other than those things, which, to be clear, open world stuff and side content stuff could be amazing. We just didn't really get to see hardly any of it. So maybe it's amazing, maybe it's terrible, which is why we weren't shown it. We just don't know. Other than those two, Yasuke is the only thing where I was really like, I don't know if this makes sense, man. Everything else is intriguing. They've done a lot of stuff like revamping enemy AI. They have something like as simple as when there is a rainstorm, high-level enemies wearing nicer armor will go inside and they shove all the grunts that were inside, the low-level guys, they shove them all outside into the cold rain to take their spots while they stay inside where it's dry and warm. And so when there's a rainstorm, you literally see them behave differently based on the weather or the season. Like when it's a blizzard outside or when it's snowy in the winter season, you'll see the high level enemies get to stay by the fire and they send the grunts out to do the patrols, but they also will change how quickly they do stuff. So like the grunts will walk over to their outposts, they'll look around, and then they move quickly between them instead of coming and standing for a while because they're cold and they want to get back to the fire. And even like the difference in seasons where the grass will grow at different rates. So in like the summer, the grass will be decently tall. So Nawe can like go prone, or Yasuke can go prone and lay in the grass, kind of like in The Last of Us Part 2, and that can provide cover. Or in the summer, you know, you could go into a bush or hide in a tree and the leaves will cover you so you can't be seen. But in the winter / fall, when all the leaves fall, you can't hide in a bush anymore because the leaves are gone and they'll be able to see you. Duh. Which is a really cool thing. So based on which season and the weather and the time of day, how you approach situations and encounters and stealth sequences will be totally different, which is honestly like really, really cool. And I think that could be really, really fascinating. Even little things like icicles that hang from the sides of walls, you can either shoot it with an arrow or a throwing star, or even just walk on top of where it's hanging. And the icicle will fall, either creating noise, or you can even impale people with those icicles if you drop it on their head. There's a lot of just really cool dynamics at play. At the same time, there's a lot of stuff they removed. Like, a lot of stuff that they removed. Way more than I thought. Things like, that are minimal and probably don't have that big of an effect, like no hunting animals anymore. They just don't let you kill animals. Fair enough. It's a cultural thing. They want to be sensitive. Don't just massacre hundreds of wolves and stuff and foxes. I get it. Not a big deal. The removal of like mini games. There's no Orlog. There's no Gwent like game as far as the people, the directors were telling us. There's no mini games. Okay. Not that big of a deal. But they did remove the eagle. There's no flying over and scanning outposts anymore. Now you have to look and visually identify your targets. They'll tell you something like, look for the building with the red roof on the west side of the city, and there's an older lady that is stirring a pot. She cooks dinner every night, and so look for that building. That's how you find your targets. I like that. That's a cool change. But other things like how in like torches, there's no torches anymore. You can't pull out a torch. That was something that was really small, really minimal in Origins, just for lighting your way, or Odyssey. Those are gone. And part of it is because in Valhalla, they built it out so you could throw torches to burn buildings down as part of the raids, right? Now that's just removed. And the reason they said was because all the buildings are made of like paper and light woods. So if they gave you the ability to burn down buildings, you would just show up at a castle and burn every castle down. And I was like, honestly, fair enough. I was like, you know what? Yeah, if I had the option to just burn down every castle, I could see that being a problem. So they removed that because they just thought that wouldn't make sense. If they gave you the ability to burn down some buildings, why would it just arbitrarily not work at castles? Okay, I get it. Or one of the other things, like Origins and Odyssey had this cool mechanic where if an enemy died and in like a fort, other enemies and NPCs would come find the body, they'd pick it up, and then they would move it outside the castle walls and create a like pile for a mass grave later. That's completely gone. There's no systems like that in Shadows. And I asked them, why did you cut that out? That's cool. And they said, well, because culturally, the idea of taking like your soldiers and then throwing them in a mass grave would be like unbelievably insensitive and insulting. So they said, we cut that too. And I was like, okay, honestly, fair point. Fair point. And there's a lot of little stuff like that they cut and changed because they felt that it was inappropriate for the setting. One of the other things that they changed and that they cut, there is no ability to toggle day to night or night to day, which was a big thing in Origins, where you would have a quest that says, follow this guy. He leaves work at sundown, follow him home. And they removed that. So you can't cycle from day to night or night to day. Why would you do that? You know, because all these things that they're removing, there has to be a reason. And typically when we see this stuff, we just see that it's removed and then we have to guess. But I actually got to ask the creative director. I got to ask the game director, the gameplay director, the narrative associate director. I got to ask these people why. And they said it was because Shadows is built on the premise of players dealing with situations, ideal or not. Those extenuating circumstances, like the weather. So they want you to be able to have a quest pop where it says, break into this castle and assassinate this guy. And if it's 10 a.m. and it's thunderstorming, you can take on that quest as is and deal with the circumstances as they are. With the thunderstorm, it's loud. The rain makes it so that the enemies don't want to stand outside. So the high level enemies all kind of congregate inside. It also means that there's so much noise, they can't hear you as well, making stealth a little bit easier. There's all sorts of things like that. Their view distance is shortened, things like that. And so they want you to have the option of just dealing with it there. But if you want to wait for a more ideal time or place, or conditions rather, you can do that. So if you're like, hey, I got to take on this assassination mission in this castle, but right now it's noon and a clear day, I'm going to wait till it's night. They're like, you can do that. Just go do a side quest, go do something else for 5-10 minutes, and then come back and take on the mission when you decide the conditions are ideal. Because they said one of the problems they identified with Valhalla and Odyssey was that players were spending a lot of time in menus trying to manipulate situations until they were more ideal or until they liked it better. So they wanted to avoid that. And they wanted to make it so players would deal with situations as they presented themselves dynamically through the game. And honestly, fair point. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that. So like with all these changes, all these shifts, there's a reason behind them. Do they work? Do they contribute to a game that is more fun, more immersive, and better? It's honestly too early to tell. Like we really can't tell, because it's with things like this, with these changes being made, it's about the overall package. It's about the how it all ties together. That's the crucial bit. I am keeping an eye on the time, everybody, just so you know, for the Xbox Showcase. Don't you worry. So it's interesting, intentional changes. And some of them I love, like the removal of the bird and making it so you actually have to find objectives. I like that. Other changes, like in my view, removing some of the really cool dynamics of AI for, to be fair, for cultural reasons. I'm just not sure if I like that. I'm like, okay, you removed some cool bits and then you replaced them with other things. Where like, I'm just not sure if I buy that. Okay, yeah, we can't. Are you serious? Yeah. Deco, Jesus Christ. I just saw that message. Goodbye. That's insane. So with all this, I think there's a lot of interesting things that they've done. I am not sure how it all ties together. We didn't really get to see any side quest stuff. We didn't really get to see any open world adventuring stuff because it just straight up was not shown to us because the slice was very narrow. And so I'm curious, but I did not leave the preview like I left the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 preview. I like the KCD2 preview. I played 7 hours or whatever it was of the game, and I was like, I'm considering canceling my flight so I can play more. Like, it was that immersive and exciting and intriguing. With this, I was like, I have a lot of questions still. I'm still not so sure about this. I'm intrigued, but I'm not like overflowing with excitement or anything. So time will tell. The other big thing is that tonally, this is a massive shift. I mean, this game was, from what we played, it was very dramatic and much more dry than like Valhalla or Odyssey. Valhalla and Odyssey are kind of silly, frankly. And so they're just goofy and silly and outrageous in a lot of ways. This was very, very just straight up dramatic, serious in tone. No real moments of like, that's cool. Nothing like that. It's all very serious. Dry as in Starfield writing? No, like the characters are grounded and what they're doing makes sense and the motivations are clear and there's some, no spoilers, of course, but there were some plot twists and stuff we saw that were clever and interesting and made sense. So it's interesting writing. It's just not like in AC Odyssey, there's that quest line in the opening hours where you help that old lady go and collect herbs to make Viagra, basically, so that her lover can get it up because he's like 70 years old. And that's just like a little side quest you do. And it's goofy, it's ridiculous. And tonally, this game is opposite of that. Like, it's the total opposite. There's nothing like that. Arik Array points out something I actually bring up in the video, which is that, so no Marvel writing. This is the opposite of Marvel writing, where instead of the constant like quips, imagine if like Yasuke turns to the camera and they're like, we got to go assassinate this target. Yeah, eat the rich. Like, can you imagine? That's what I was braced for. But this is the opposite of that, to the point where maybe it's like too serious and it could get like really dry and exhausting by the end of it. But we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. So overall, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic. I was more impressed than I thought I would be. And I liked that they alluded a few times, in indirect ways, that they were specifically trying to do things differently than Valhalla because they recognized some problems from Valhalla. But of course they can't just come out and say, yeah, we agree Valhalla wasn't that great or Valhalla had a ton of problems, because it's like, it's not, they didn't make it. It was a different studio within Ubisoft and they did some help on it, but like, they can't just start bad-mouthing it. But it was pretty clear that they made some active choices to address frustrations from Valhalla, which I can appreciate because I really didn't like Valhalla. So anyway, I encourage you to watch the whole video. It's like an hour plus long, because I have a lot of thoughts on that. And I go through them all in a lot more detail there. We got to see the settlement system. We got to see the Animus Hub. The Animus Hub, straight up, is like the most unremarkable thing I've ever seen. It is basically just a new main menu for the game that lets you boot into other games that you own. And then they have some like free rewards for playing the game. Like, I think previously it was much more monetized. I think at one point they had premium mini battle pass things, and I'm sure they had that stuff at one point, and I think they were bullied out of it. And that's why it's important to talk about that, to talk about the rumors and leaks, so that the producers and the people in the corporate offices in France, they see the reception to that and realize, hey, if we do this, we're going to get destroyed. So I'm happy to report that the Animus Hub is way less remarkable than any of us were braced for. It's basically just a reskin of the main menu, and that's about it. But on the whole, I mean, a lot of what they showed was really, really impressive, but there's other things that they're doing that I'm just not convinced of yet. And there's other pieces of the game that are pretty sizable that I feel like we just didn't get to see hardly at all. Like the side quests and the exploration, which is what you're probably going to be spending most of your time doing in this game. So time will tell. If you want to see some actual like hands-on time, Jor is actually playing the game right now over on his stream. So, I mean, look at him. He's got 5,500 people watching. He's close to 1 million. He's very, very close. Just earlier when I popped this tab open, he was at like 250, like 96, 250 or something. So shout out to Jor. He's going to be talking with the game director or creative director, somebody within the dev team he's going to chat with soon. So maybe if that is interesting, we could look at a clip of that, but we shall see. But for now, we're going to watch the Xbox Developer Direct. They've been hyping this up like crazy, so we're going to see. But all of this to say, with AC Shadows, I'm intrigued. I think they're doing a lot of cool stuff, but I still have some pretty sizable question marks that I was hoping would be answered that they talked about, but we just didn't get to see any extensive hands-on time. But I would say, 80% really impressed. 20% I'm like, what about this? This seems pretty important, and we just didn't get to see much of it. So we'll see what happens in coming months, because they've got 2 more months. But it was really polished. I'll give them that. They really did polish it up. So they seemingly have made a lot of progress with that. And I was told the build we played was like early November. So what we saw in the previews was pretty much what I would expect the game would have looked like at the original launch date. And it's honestly, like, it's not bad. It's actually really, really impressive. And one of the devs told me, and I quote, "The current build is way better." And I was like, already, I think this is pretty impressive, but still. So anyway, we'll talk more about it later. If you have any questions, then let me know. We will tackle that later. But as for now, we've got a showcase. So let's do it. End of segment. End of segment. Don't all devs say that about all builds? I mean, yeah, they're not going to say like, what we have now is not that much better. They're going to hype it up. Okay, let's see. Developer Direct. Here we go. Unmute. All games you're about to see are in development and do not represent final products. Touche. And they're all available day one with Game Pass. Booyah. Support Xbox Play Anywhere and Xbox Cloud Gaming. Buy once, play on Xbox consoles, Xbox app on PC, and with cross saves and cross progression. I love that. I do freaking love the cross save stuff. Let's see. Phil, what have you been cooking up? Let's see if they have anything that can compete with Fair Game $. Even one game. Do they have even a single thing? Four games. Four studios. Straight from the depths. I do love this format because the like really sanitized, overproduced marketing videos always kind of drive me crazy. But these are at least, they're overproduced in some cases, but they're at least designed to be more candid and more direct, which I appreciate. I like it way more than like, you know, 15 cinematic trailers. Sandfall Interactive, and then there's one other surprise game. Are they starting with that? Oh, baby. Any bets on what it is? Team Ninja. What?
こんにちは、光栄テクモゲームズチーム忍者の安田文彦です。今日は皆様にチーム忍者が長く大切にしてきたアクションシリーズの新情報を発表できる機会をいただけてとても嬉しく思います。早速ですが、こちらをご覧ください。
Right to the point.
Several years ago, the Dark Dragon,
Ninja
youngest
Gaiden?
of the divine dragon gods, wreaked havoc across the world.
Teenage Mutant Ninja
The
Turtles?
plot was ultimately thwarted through the efforts of a sole ninja. However, the Dark Dragon's husk remained, and from this husk fell an endless downpour of cursed rain. The abandoned Tokyo continues its struggle against chaos to this day.
Infiltrated the facility. Commencing mission.
Platinum Games. Jesus, dude. Ooh. With dismemberment too, dude. Dude, the art direction goes hard.
Whatever your clan is plotting, it ends here. So you've come, Raven.
Back off, Hayabusa. I will execute my mission.
Wow.
世界中の町人の皆さん、10年以上大変お待たせしました。最強の忍者となり容赦なく襲い来る敵に挑むハイスピードアクション忍者ガイデンのナンバリング最新作として忍者ガイデン4を発表させていただきました。本作はプラチナゲームズさんとの協業で開発を進めています。プラチナゲームズさんのアクションゲームというジャンルにおける実績は言うまでもなく、ベヨネッタやニアオートマタなど素晴らしいアクションタイトルを生み出してこられました。忍者ガイデン4というタイトルを10年以上の時を超えて新たに皆様にお届けするにあたり、より多くの方に新鮮な気持ちでプレイしていただけるよう、新たな世界を新主人公であるもう一人の町人ヤクモで冒険するという形で制作することにしました。先ほどご覧いただいた映像の中で竜はやぶさも登場しておりましたが、彼は今回も物語に密接に関わってきます。なぜヤクモと戦うことになったのか、竜はやぶさが戦う目的は何なのか、本作の物語の中で展開していきます。
任務は必ず成し遂げる。邪魔をするな。
物語は黒竜がもたらした正気の雨によって荒廃した首都東京が舞台となっています。この雨は 黒竜がまだ生きている証であり、雨が止まない限り東京に安寧は訪れません。今作の新主人公であり、ハヤブサと対をなすカラス一門に所属するヤクモが首都東京で黒竜を倒し、この世界を晴らすため戦いに身を投じます。
これまで忍者外伝シリーズで描かれてきたダークでハードな世界観は継承し、そこにさらに危機を感じさせる要素として呪いやより混沌とした景観のデザインを取り入れています。ステージプレイ中に街が呪いの影響を受け、ビルは崩れ、道は歪み、ヤクモをピンチに陥れること。
Yeah, dude, for me it's the art direction. The art direction's crazy.
とある出来事によって街全体が崩壊し、魔族やヤクモと敵対する勢力がひしめき合う状態になっており、環境全体がプレイヤーに牙を向くように感じられるはずです。前作より立体的に自由度の増した危険に満ちたステージを、忍具やシリーズおなじみの体術など忍者アクションを駆使して乗り越えていくことになります。レールアクション、スイングアクションなどのダイナミックで爽快なシチュエーションを多く追加しました。
What's also crazy is that like this is an Xbox Day One Game Pass title. 3-4 years ago, Xbox had nothing that really was specifically targeting Eastern markets, and now they're partnering with Platinum Games and Team Ninja. Like what? It's crazy, dude.
竜はやぶさに次ぐ新たな町人です。彼にはまだ若さも残っていますが、カラス一門を背負う天才忍者でもあり、忍者外伝シリーズにおける忍者の頂点、竜と肩を並べる次世代の町人たり得る人物としてデザインしています。そんなヤクモの前に立ちふさがるのは、荒れ果てた東京の治安維持組織であり、黒竜の封印を守る竜神島や現世に蔓延する人ならざる者妖魔、そしてもちろんシリーズおなじみの魔人も登場します。また現時点では公開していませんが、新たなキャラクターやシリーズファンの方に喜んでいただける人物も登場しますので、続報にご期待ください。
従来のシリーズからバトルスピードをさらに加速させ、目にも止まらぬスピードで敵との攻防を繰り広げることができます。さらにヤクモが使える新要素、結節忍術ヌエの型を駆使したダイナミックな攻撃によって、これまでから大きく進化した一対他の戦闘を可能にしました。
The dismemberment is
これ
also
までの
crazy.
忍者ガイデンにはない広範囲。
Does that make me sound like a psychopath though? Like I love that they get cut in half. I'm not weird. I mean, I'm okay. Let me stand correct. I'm not insane. I'm gonna stop talking.
敵もガードや回避をしてくるため、緊張感のあるフェアな戦闘を味わうことができます。敵の動きをしっかりと捉えながら、一瞬の隙を逃さずに攻撃を仕掛けていくことが重要です。ヌエの型によって忍者ガイデンのアクションの味わいにさらなる進化を感じられるかと思います。
特にアクションに関しては手触り、バランス調整など細部にわたり日々議論させていただき、会社の垣根を越えた密なやり取りをさせていただいています。本作の主人公であるヤクモは竜とは一味違うアクションを有していますが、その中でもしっかりと忍者ガイデンらしさを感じていただけると思います。例えばカラス、ヌエ、2つの型があるという点がヤクモの大きな特徴ですが、それらが持つ多彩な性能のアクションを用いて敵や状況ごとに使い分ける攻略の深みや、滅却、絶技などを絡めた抑揚あるスピーディーな攻防などはもちろんヤクモでも健在です。
ヤクモと竜はやぶさはそれぞれがかなり異なる個性的な遊び心地になっていますので、さまざまな戦闘バリエーションを楽しむことができるようになっています。ヤクモ、そして竜はやぶさの双方で飛燕、伊豆名落としなどシリーズおなじみのアクションも駆使しつつ、新アクションを織り交ぜた新しい忍者ガイデンにご期待ください。 忍者ガイデンシリーズに色濃く残っている歯ごたえやグレードの高いアクション体験の継承、さらに我々プラチナゲームズの特徴であるスピーディーなアクションやダイナミックな演出も取り入れ、進化した正当続編を作り上げるべく総力を挙げて開発を進めております。
容赦ない敵とのいかなる攻防にもフェアに戦える手触りをヤクモでも目指しています。皆様に進化した忍者ガイデンを触っていただける日を楽しみにしています。
シリーズファンはもちろんのこと、忍者ガイデンを初めてプレイする方でも存分に楽しめる作品になっておりますので、ぜひ発売をお待ちください。
長年にわたってプラチナゲームズさんと共にまさに忍者のように潜んで忍者ガイデン4の開発を進めてきましたが、ついに発表することができて非常に嬉しく思います。2025年秋に本作を皆様にお届けできるのを楽しみにしています。
Jesus. What the hell? Just casually dropping that? Okay, well there you go. There you go.
さて、本日お伝えしたい発表はそれだけではありません。
One more
こちら
thing.
をご覧ください。
What? Okay.
My path leads through the land of the dead.
And thus the sun sets on the Dragon Ninja bloodline.
Genshin, go back to hell.
Yeah, do you think they're shadow dropping this? They might be, dude. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black。
忍者ガイデン2のオリジナル版は2008年に Xbox360 で発売し、バイオレンスな表現とハイスピードなバトルを皆様にお楽しみいただいた作品です。今作忍者ガイデン2ブラックではオリジナル版の表現に立ち戻り、アンリアルエンジン5を用いてグラフィックを大幅に刷新、忍者ガイデン2の完全版として開発いたしました。綺麗なグラフィックでお楽しみいただけるのはもちろん、リュウハヤブサに加え、あやね、もみじ、レイチェルもプレイブルキャラクターとして登場します。そして本作は本日コンソール、PC、そして
Shadow Drop, dude. Wow.
すぐに発売となります。
The shadow drops are great though, like, because they give you something to get excited about immediately. You can only get so excited for something that might come out 6 months from now, you know? Like, just dropping something out of nowhere. That's a way to get hype.
今年はチーム忍者創立30周年の節目であり、本日発表させていただいた忍者ガイデン4を含め、2025年は忍者の年、イヤーオブザ忍者となります。ぜひ忍者ガイデンシリーズの展開にご注目ください。本日はありがとうございました。
Jeez, dude. Okay. Well, there you go. Balls on the table move. Yeah, kind of, dude. Wow. Already, I mean, it's just so crazy how quickly Xbox has been able to pivot and get some of those studios. Not get the studio, get some of those games on Game Pass. This one I'm intrigued by because I think art direction-wise, it looks great, but every time I've seen gameplay, I'm like, oh.
Hi, and welcome to Compulsion Games here in Montreal, Canada.
Montreal.
At our studio, we care about world building, and we treat the setting almost like a character of its own. From the magical noir of contrast to the alternate history of We Happy Few, we draw inspiration from the landscape to shape mood, drama, and intrigue. For South of Midnight, our third-person action-adventure game, the story and characters bring a folkloric Deep South to life. This gave us a chance to explore Southern Gothic themes with a dark fantasy twist. So while our protagonist Hazel is at the forefront of our story, it's the macabre elements and larger-than-life creatures that will leave a mark on her journey and growth.
Yeah, the monsters are what make me interested.
It is really picking up out there. Did you pack everything?
Mama,
This ain't my first hurricane. I know what to do.
As long as you didn't forget the
Flashlights and batteries.
Oh, shit, we got 5 minutes. Let's go.
We wouldn't be rushed if you didn't.
Don't mumble. Speak on it.
I said we wouldn't be rushed if you didn't waste all that time at the shelter.
Now, you want to bring this up right now.
I'm just saying.
Hazel, please.
We might need some help. I might need some help. While you're out helping everybody else.
Hazel!
Bye, mama. Jesus.
Hazel may start her journey as a typical 19-year-old, but disastrous events will push her into a darkly magical world where she'll learn who she really is and how to tap into weaving, an ancient magical power that redefines her trajectory in life.
The land itself chooses Hazel as a weaver. Someone who can see beyond the surface and tap into a deeper reality, the grand tapestry. Weavers can see the fabric binding our world, connecting people, nature, and echoes of the past.
Keep those hands to yourself.
Hazel can perceive both the mystical strands and stigmas in the world. Through her
Red
newfound
zits?
power, she
Can we pop them?
reweaves these stigmas and mends the afflicted creatures she encounters.
I don't know why that's the meta in the industry right now.
As
It's
Hazel
just
discovers
giant
her
glowing
power,
things you
the
pop.
world gradually shifts into the surreal, revealing that creatures from the old folktales
They have a
actually
beautiful
exist.
studio though. Jesus, look at that.
Up here, my salvation.
Among them is good old Catfish, the storyteller who becomes both the guide and companion to Hazel across the game.
It ain't every day I hear about a new weaver such as yourself. Would you kindly do your weaver thing and help me down?
Oh my god, I love him.
Meeting Catfish marks the true beginning of Hazel's journey. All of Hazel's arsenal and powers are designed around textile crafting and traditional
Jasmine
spinning tools.
Roy.
Her weapons include a spindle, 2 weaving hooks, and a distaff. Her magic abilities manifest with supernatural lace-like patterns, blending the traditional craft with mystical elements. Hazel engages with the world through a variety of movement abilities. Those abilities also help Hazel progress on a journey.
As her journey unfolds, Hazel will master new weaving abilities, using them to traverse the world, conjure objects, and confront adversaries.
Combat is about understanding and adapting to different enemy archetypes known as Aints, the manifestations of corruption Hazel encounters.
These haints trap Hazel in combat until she unravels them, destroying them in the process.
Each Aint has its own unique moveset, strengths, and weaknesses that you'll need to learn and adapt to. For example, the slug burrows on the ground and unleashes devastating strikes from afar, while the Ravager closes the distance with chilling speed. Hazel can counter these threats with agile melee abilities to execute powerful combos, jump attacks, and charge attacks. But close combat is risky and can backfire.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just every time I see the gameplay, like specifically combat, they're in these like tight little arenas, and it just like I don't know, it just looks very generic. Like I'm sure the art direction and like the music and stuff is gonna be really good, but I just I don't know. Am I just a prick for thinking that? It just looks very generic the second we see combat.
Then press the advantage with follow-up strikes. Spells interact uniquely with each enemy type, creating dynamic combat scenarios, especially when facing multiple types of opponents at the same time. Once near death, enemies can be unraveled, breaking their core and setting them free of their corruption, which has the added benefit of providing health boosts and reducing ability cooldowns. If you play your combos right, you can enhance Hazel's combat readiness and keep on chaining her abilities. As Hazel progresses in the game, she unlocks new moves and improved abilities, and you'll have to decide which areas to prioritize.
The
upgrades will change how you approach combat, like enhancing area effect attacks, or refining push and pull skills to improve precision and make them feel more rewarding. The combat system is fast and responsive, built around chaining attacks, landing precise strikes, and unraveling enemies.
You mind if I take a look around?
You can see every place old Molly terrorized and more. Now for the low, low price of $1.
In Hazel's search for her mother, you'll explore multiple regions, each ruled by a mythical creature with their own Southern Gothic history. You'll gradually uncover the backstories of these beings, once human or animal, who were transformed by tragedy, their secrets waiting to be discovered. As a weaver, Hazel heals these creatures by collecting fragments of haunted memories. We call these echoes, which reveal each creature's past. Hazel must experience these echoes before she can mend them.
What kind of person would do that to someone?
We design each region to reflect the creature that's been doomed to wander it. From the atmospheric environment to unique music themes composed for each one. While not all encounters lead to direct combat, Hazel will need to face mythical creatures in epic confrontation before she can heal them. Our boss encounters and gameplay sequences also reflects the uniqueness of each creature, with distinct mechanics that center around a specific thematic. These encounters feature multiple phases that ramp up in complexity.
It's like, that looks badass.
As the encounters progress, the musical theme builds up, cranking the tension alongside the fight. Whether it's Two-Toed Tom or hugging Molly, each of these larger-than-life creatures is inspired by Southern folklore and lead to climactic battles.
We got a long journey ahead.
South of Midnight unfolds as a hero's journey, and as Hazel, you'll travel through a tapestry of Southern-inspired landscapes. From abysmal swamps to flooded farmlands to the Appalachian peaks. In our magical South, decaying buildings reclaimed by nature stand moments away from a hungry Rugal. And as Hazel delves deeper, reality bends ever more toward the fantastical.
The history, landscape, and folklore of the American Deep South fill our world, and our team has infused the game with thoughtful details and environmental storytelling, like our bottle trees and haint blue porches, which are said to ward off evil spirits. The weight of the past emerges as central themes, which you can see through old abandoned buildings and businesses struggling to survive. As you explore, you'll meet locals who stayed behind even in the face of a hurricane.
So I'm the last person left here. All those damn haints. This part of the river's filthy with them.
Artistically, we're staying true to our moody compulsion signature style. But this time, we're using a handcrafted approach inspired by stop-motion animation, which allows our team to bring a distinct personality and tone into every prop and character.
I do love the art direction, but I also love like Little Nightmares and all that stuff. I love stop motion.
And their stories to adapt how they look and to craft our own version of a fantastical Deep South.
At Compulsion Games, we love to craft around central themes. We're lucky to have talent across all our disciplines that collaborate to give South of Midnight such a unique personality. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into South of Midnight. We're thrilled to announce that the game will launch on April 8th, and pre-orders are now available on Xbox and Steam.
April 8th. What about PlayStation? No PlayStation. Okay, April 8th. Wow. I thought they might be pushing it to like August or something. We're gonna see if that leaked release date for Doom is right though, because they were saying that's like May, and if that's coming out April, I'd be very surprised if Doom is in May. Dude, I love stained glass windows. I don't know what it is. It's probably some childhood trauma, but I freaking love stained glass. I think it's beautiful.
We are Sunfall Interactive, and welcome to our manor.
Not a competing audience. You're right. You're right. That's
are a small
very
studio
fair.
Based in Montpellier, France, working on our first game, Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
This one does look fire, dude.
It's a turn-based RPG set in the fantasy version of late 19th century Belle Epoque France.
Here we are.
Our grand adventure in game development actually started as a solo passion project. I wanted to create something like the JRPGs with turn-based combat I grew up with and loved, but that fully leveraged the latest tech, refreshed the genre with new features, and took place in a compelling world. I knew I needed help to realize my dream. First, I turned to a programmer I knew would get it.
Guillaume and I started trading ideas right away, and that quickly turned into trading files back and forth. Soon, I was creating the first prototypes of the reactive turn-based system, combining real-time offense and defense element, and a cinematic battle camera system. Things really clicked when we tested the first version of those features. We felt we had something both challenging and fun.
As Tom and I went back and forth and iterated on game elements, a vision started to come together, and I shared it with an old friend from university.
Guillaume and I are both passionate gamers, and when he described the project, I quit my job the following week and joined the team without hesitation. Because I believe that in video games, success always starts with a strong creative vision. And
Imagine
we had that defined by 3 core elements.
We
A story
believe
with great emotional depth,
a good game requires a good idea.
on the classics we love,
It's very novel, unfortunately, nowadays.
beautiful and immersive. We founded something
Look at that.
interactive on these tenets. A group of friends with a shared vision and the drive to make something great.
Does anyone, can somebody Google how big the team is?
Core to every great RPG is a compelling story. And Guillaume and I spent 4 years intensively developing and refining ours. And that started with the hook.
There's so many fireplaces in their office.
67 years
Is that just
ago,
a French thing?
massive slumbering paintress and a monolith appeared with no warning. Once a year, the paintress wakes and paints a number on her monolith, and everyone who has passed that age is erased. Every year, that number ticks down, and everyone dies younger and younger. Expeditions depart to kill the paintress, determined to fight until their final breath, but none have ever returned. Our story follows Expedition 33.
What a clever idea, dude. Oh.
Expeditioners, we honor your dedication.
Guillaume and I knew early on that we didn't want to focus on good versus evil. What's interesting to us are people who, yes, are flawed, but who care deeply about each other. And conflicts arise because they have different perspectives on what needs to be done.
I'm sorry about earlier.
Dude, I need this art
We wanted our
direction
story
and
to feel
vibe
dark and mature,
injected directly
with adult
in my
characters
blood.
who feel like real people with real experiences.
I'm always missing something that everyone else just gets.
The heart of the story is about overcoming an existential threat while struggling with loss and grief. And it's rooted in the characters' relationships, both to each other and to themselves.
What are we gonna do, huh? Tell me. What are we gonna do?
In a world like this, how does one stay hopeful or make peace with their fate? What duty do we owe to each other or to ourselves? These questions are deeply personal to me, and they permeate the story behind the story.
Know that Lumiere fights with you. Tomorrow comes Expedition 33.
The characters all have their own motivations and perspectives. Gustave and Lune are deeply invested in the expedition, even if they fight all the time. To them, the mission is tied not only to their family, it's central to their identity and purpose.
Protocol doesn't cover every contingency. You know that.
Contrast that with Ciel, whose darkest days have already happened.
What are the stars whispering to you? Actually, I'm the one whispering to them. It's something my dad and I used to do.
And Maëlle, who cares more about really living her life, not just living longer.
Gustave, are you real?
It's not all dark, though. Along the way, they meet various colorful NPCs and recruit Monoko, who is a friendly but kinda bloodthirsty philosopher and a fully playable character. He has a really cool battle mechanic where he can turn into the enemies he defeats.
What are you doing?
Just need the foot. Aha!
He's very, very old and has seen many expeditions come and go. He is a Gestrol, which are a group of playful beings who view battle as a form of meditation. They're fun and sort of ridiculous. You'll meet Monoko and many other Gestrols across the game.
Bonjour.
And of course, there is Esquier, who is one of the oldest and lore-wise the most powerful creatures in the verse.
Esquier is that powerful?
He will be your mount and help you travel to secret corners of the world. And if if you bring him back his
I
special
need
stones,
it
you can
now!
unlock abilities for him to access new areas of the world and find exciting secrets.
I'm strong, but I'm not that strong.
Everyone has their own reason for joining the expedition, and each of them has their own story arc and resolution that we think players will really connect with.
In addition to a strong narrative, we had a clear vision for our own take on the genre's core gameplay. Our reactive turn-based system takes the traditional turn-based battle mechanic we love and adds real-time reaction, which gives combat greater intensity and dynamism. During enemy turns, you can negate all damage by dodging or parrying at the right time. But balancing turn-based with real-time mechanics took a long time to get right. During initial playtests, turn-based players often found the real-time elements too hard. Some of us are still traumatized by enemies from back then. We've done a lot of rebalancing since, and with a lot of iteration, we ultimately came up with a formula that we're proud of. Players who are good at real-time can take more risks, and others can counterbalance with items and strategies. A big part of that formula lies in the many ways you can customize your character. We spend a lot of time designing each character's unique mechanics and their custom skill trees. Our philosophy is making every type of playstyle viable so that everyone can have fun with how they play the game. Each character has a unique mechanic. Melee switches between stances, which can ultimately boost defense or power. I personally like to make Mel the protector of the group, but I'm pretty much the only one at the studio who plays her that way. Most people play her as a glass cannon with Gustav's complementary skills. The characters can also equip hundreds of passive effects, which in our game are called Lumina. Every character has more than 20 unique skills in their skill tree and hundreds of passive effects they can gain through Lumina and weapons. So there are a ton of builds and playstyle to explore. Needless to say, we can't wait to see how you choose to play and what kinds of build you'll design that we probably never even imagined.
Our story is set in the French fantasy world, and I was really excited to design something unique. Every level has its own color and texture identity. For example, the Gestural Village is an early area in the game where players can enjoy a fun break. We wanted something that feels chaotic, grungy, and toy-like. It's basically a bazaar. Everything's disorganized, chaos everywhere, huts are unsafe, built without much thought. It's a place where anyone could fight you at any point, which is pretty much what the Gestrals are like. The Gestral Village is hidden inside the ancient sanctuary. The ideas here were forest, labyrinth, and sentinels. I designed it as a vibrant place, like an old graveyard of Gestrals, or forgotten wooden toys in a box, with two main colors, red and white. I wanted to make it feel cozy, hidden from danger, with traps and labyrinths in case enemies get in. Same process with the characters. Minoko came in a single concept. I thought of a monkey-like body, white fur with a black and red flat mask.
Ladies, could I? Ow!
Definitely a Gestral.
For Eske, we needed a cuddly companion to take us around the world. I thought instantly of a giant inflatable balloon and old Victorian pillows with many intricate motifs. We start with the core themes and ideas, and the visuals grow organically from there.
From the very start of the project, there was one thing that we absolutely wanted to bring back from older JRPGs. A feature we really loved, but is very rare these days. A completely 3D and navigable world map. Yes, we've got a world map. And it was a real challenge to create, both artistically and technically. And it ended up a lot bigger than we expected. You'll definitely need Eske's help traveling around.
Here we go!
We're super happy with the result, though, as there's a lot of side paths and entire hidden levels.
Dude, it's such a
If you want to
melding of
fight the
old
toughest
school
bosses
and
of the
new
game,
school.
You will have to explore. Good luck.
We've poured our hearts and souls into this game for the past 4 years. That's why we're delighted to announce that Expedition 33 launches on April 24th on Xbox Series X and S and is available day one with Xbox Game Pass. You can already wishlist the game and follow us for more info.
We are super excited to invite you into the world of Expedition 33. We are a small, passionate team, it's our debut game, and we can't wait for you to discover our story, our world, and our take on the turn-based genre.
I swear to God, if that leak about Doom is also...
Thank you for joining us.
If it's coming in May, like within 4 weeks, they're gonna have all like what?
Demain viendra.
Sacre bleu, indeed. Bro, that's unreal. That might be like my most anticipated game of the year so far. Like that is crazy, dude. God damn. Wow.
Hello, and welcome to Dallas, Texas, home of id Software, where more than 30 years ago, a small team of game developers helped define and set a course for first-person shooters. A lot has changed since then, but our team is as passionate as ever. And the most important values at the core of our games, innovation, craftsmanship, and performance, remain a priority for us to this day.
And as you're about to see, those values are infused in every aspect of this latest installment in the legendary Doom franchise. It is an honor to work on this game, to carry on its tradition of creating all-out, groundbreaking levels of fun.
So now, we're excited to share with you a look at our most ambitious game yet. This is Doom: The Dark Ages.
That was so stupid, I mouthed the words.
I was gonna say, that's awesome. Oh, that's funny.
In Doom: The Dark Ages, you will feel like the superweapon in the center of a medieval war against hell. Set in a cinematic sci-fi fantasy world full of locations to explore, powerful weapons to unlock, and enemies to conquer. This is a prequel to Doom 2016, and that's given us the opportunity to reimagine every aspect of this experience. So if you're new to the franchise, then Doom: The Dark Ages will be the perfect entry point into the series. And if you're a longtime fan, then you'll be proud to see, in a lot of ways, the feel of the game is really a return to form. So let's break it down, starting with the combat. In Doom Eternal, you felt like a fighter jet. In Doom: The Dark Ages, you'll be an iron tank. Heavy, strong, but still fast. A grounded combat system with an emphasis on power over the acrobatics of Doom Eternal.
Oh, I like that.
And a balance between enemy projectiles and player movement speed that makes strafing to aim viable again, just like in the classic Doom games. But it's not all about nostalgia. Innovation is the goal, always. And so for Doom: The Dark Ages, it's an all-new world with new tools and new mechanics to master. Let me introduce you to the shield saw. Block. Throw. Parry. Deflect. All from one input. It's contextual, tons of depth on a single button press. You know, we want every Doom game to stand on its own as a unique experience. So in 2016, we asked you to run and gun. In Doom Eternal, it was jump and shoot. And in Doom: The Dark Ages, you're gonna stand and fight.
No arms, oh!
And the shield saw will give you the strength to go head to head with some of the biggest, baddest demons we've ever created at id. But that's not all, because if you're gonna stand and fight, then you gotta have something to follow up that opening parry with. How about an iron flail? Or maybe an electrified gauntlet? Or even a Doom spiked mace? That's right, we have 3 melee options that are part of a melee system, all on one input, complete with combos and upgrades, and it's totally awesome. And you can finish off the demons now with an all-new, unsynced, completely in the player's control glory kill system. from any angle, in and out, as you see fit. And it feels amazing. You'll feel unstoppable, smashing your way through the horde with total freedom. And that seems like a ton, but that's just 2 inputs. We got one more really important button that we haven't talked about yet. The trigger. That's right, we've saved the best for last. Doom has and always will be all about the guns, and Dark Ages has some of the most ridiculously powerful weapons that we've ever created. Mean, ancient, brutal torture machines.
Dude, the gore
built to
system's
butcher,
crazy too.
Impale, and shred the minions of hell with. Only in Doom. That's the mission statement for the design of these never-before-seen, insanely fun-to-use tools of mayhem that only the Slayer has the power to wield. So let's take a look at some extended gameplay footage and see how these medieval mechanics synergize with the enemies and the environments to form the new combat loop for Doom: The Dark Ages.
Dude, the level of detail in the distance is also crazy high.
Under the hood, for the first time in an id game, we've made our combat more approachable and flexible than ever before, with a new difficulty system and sliders that will allow players to tune the speed and challenge of the game to whatever fits them best. You can slow things down or speed them up. It's a Doom for all
Dude, you can
Slayers.
speed it up?
And the
That's
gameplay
crazy.
doesn't end with just the Slayer. We finally have for you, you've been waiting for 2 games now, to get in and pilot your very own 30-story Atlan, which is a mech. It's the size of a building, it's powerful, and you can beat giant Titan-sized demons to death with your gauntleted fists. And if that wasn't enough, we also have for you your very own fire-breathing, Gatling gun-toting cybernetic dragon. Neither of these are one-and-done features either. They have a full suite of abilities and even mini-bosses. The spectacle is epic. The power fantasy is unlike anything we've made it in. And the combat systems behind these features are deep and tons of fun.
Dude.
As cool as all that is, we know that fans of single-player action games expect more than just great combat to pull them through the experience.
Oh my god.
So we're excited to share with you not just the gunplay, but the world of Doom: The Dark Ages. Your hero's journey will take you to the far reaches of the Doom universe. Mysterious worlds from the Slayer's past, dark forests, dungeons, ancient hellscapes, battlefields, and worlds beyond. And through exploration, you'll be unlocking new abilities and godlike powers every step of the way. Now armed with your trusty shield saw, you're gonna cut, leap, and smash your way through environments full of secrets and treasures. There's always something new waiting to be discovered or destroyed. Now let's take a closer look at just one of the many missions you'll experience in Doom: The Dark Ages. In this level, you will meet the enemy at the gates and save a city from certain destruction. Explore the medieval battlefield outside the castle walls, seeking out targets and enemy formations along the way to engage with as you see fit, with any gun you choose. Explore what is the largest play space ever in a Doom game, discovering secret caves
baby.
and dungeon-like mines in search of vital resources. You control the pace of the game, where you go, who you fight, and the objectives you pursue. It's a Doom sandbox full of war and riches. Once you've broken the enemy assault, head back to the main gates because the battle isn't over yet. And the soundtrack to your epic adventures will be composed by the award-winning team at Finishing Move, providing you with a metal soundscape that's loaded with guitars, medieval vibes, and pure adrenaline. You'll feel like you're expanding the legend of the Slayer with every mission you complete. And speaking of that legend, the story of Doom: The Dark Ages, like everything else in the game, is big. It's a summer blockbuster event with everything on the line, and you are the star of the show. Your power is coveted by your enemies and withheld from your allies. With the Slayer imprisoned at the start of our story, the balance of power between good and evil is shifting, and time is running out. It's a new story and the perfect entry point for new players. It's easier to access now as we've taken the narrative out of the codex and into the cutscenes, featuring new characters, old allies, and powerful new villains. And for returning players, it leads directly into the Doom 2016 Slayer's Testaments. It's an action story worthy of the Slayer's legend.
This is crazy.
We've got 10 years of making modern Doom games together, and we've done better with every game we've made.
The hope with all this, the goal, is to give players an experience that's as fun to play as it was to make, and make something that's good enough to become the best game
I need that
id
cardboard
has ever
cutout.
made.
That's great.
But that is for you to decide. When Doom: The Dark Ages releases,
It is coming in May. Wow. And PS5. There you go. Dude. What just happened?
I cannot move. This is so like...
You will feel like the super weapon in the center of a medieval war against hell.
All of Hazel's powers are designed around textile crafting and spinning wheels. The combat system is built around chaining attacks and unraveling enemies.
Our reactive turn-based system has a real-time reaction, which gives combat greater intensity and dynamism.
リングやシリーズおなじみの体術など忍者アクションを駆使して乗り越えていくことになります。
皆様に進化した忍者ガイデンを触っていただける日を楽しみにしています。
Dude. They've been cooking. Jesus Christ almighty. Wow. Okay. Huh. I'm wow. I'm very impressed. That was all very good. Very, very good. I see people in chat going, I think you guys broke YouTube chat actually. It's not updating on screen. That's funny. You guys just broke it. Let me refresh it. See if that works. I mean, honestly, like Ninja Gaiden getting like the fact that Xbox now has Ninja Gaiden and a close partnership with Team Ninja and Platinum Games, that is so insane to me, because just a few years ago they had like nothing even close or similar, and now they just have it. That's crazy. Expedition 33, straight up, maybe like my most anticipated game of the next 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is, because damn, it just looks better and better. The one thing, and I will go back through and look at it again, but One thing is there were a lot of frame drops in some spots, so I'm worried performance is going to be an issue, but we'll talk about that. South of Midnight, like I said, music and art direction I think is going to be phenomenal, but the one thing with Compulsion Games, with We Happy Few and the other stuff they've worked on, has been that the gameplay and combat stuff has always been the weak point. And I'm not seeing much to assuage that concern. I would guess this is like, you know, a 7 to 9 hour game that is all about the cutscenes, the music, the art direction, that type of thing. But gameplay is definitely going to be on the back burner. And then Doom, this just looks crazy. And I mean, it just looks like they're going bigger and badder than ever before. It's pure insanity. So I'm here for it. I see you guys mentioning no Baldur's Gate, no Bethesda Game Studios news, no Oblivion remake announcement. That was already, I mean, like industry insiders were saying, don't get your hopes up for that. It's not going to be here. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're saving that for the summer. I mean, this already is a crazy lineup before June. I mean, like Ninja Gaiden is in the fall, but to have these 3 games releasing within a handful of weeks of each other is crazy. And it makes me think they've got a lot of tricks up their sleeve for June as well. The other piece of this, and I mean, this is like the elephant in the room with all of these companies. I think that part of this is the GTA 6 effect. Nobody, if they can help it, wants to put anything close to GTA 6 if it is going to land in the fall. So if they have the option of putting like Doom, a massive game they really need to perform well, if they have the option of putting that in May versus October, potentially close to GTA 6, no, put it in May. Get it in May. And I don't blame them. So that's crazy. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is available today. That's also insane. But I mean, all told, that it's a pretty crazy lineup. Put it in chat. I want to know where you guys are at. A, B, C, D, or F grades. What would you give it? What would you give this? An A, a B, a C, a D, or an F? I don't know how you'd give it an F, unless you're just trolling. I see a lot of A's and B's. High B, okay. High B would be a good one. B minus, okay. Yeah, C plus C. So if you're not somebody that likes, I think there's certain types of players where there was just nothing here for them, and that's fair. But for somebody like me who likes the narrative stuff, who likes the turn-based stuff, like Expedition 33 alone kind of steals the show. Ninja Gaiden, yeah, that coming out of nowhere is also a huge W for them. Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of A's and B's. Too much talking, C+. I do think that some of the explanations went on a little long, but I mean, more information is better than no information, so I'll give them that. But I mean, that really, really solid get across the board. I think they did a really solid job pulling that. For this, Jacob, let's go through this. I'm going to go back through. I don't know enough about Ninja Gaiden to offer some like really interesting thoughts there. So I'll just go back and we can look at South of Midnight, or maybe we start at Expedition 33. Let's do that. And then we can do that as a dedicated segment. Okay, I found it. So the event just ended. Lots of really crazy reveals, but I think for me, what stole the show and just like blew me away was Expedition 33. I mean, this game, I already thought it looked really cool and really good, but they just blew me away. I mean, it just looks better and better and better every time I see it. And it's not just the art direction. Like the art direction is doing a lot of heavy lifting, I feel, but even just in terms of gameplay, in terms of some of the melding of old ideas with the new ideas is really, really fascinating. Something as simple as introducing these real-time elements into the turn-based combat is such like a no-duh kind of thing to do, because it makes it so even if you're somebody that doesn't connect with the turn-based stuff because it's slower and more tactical and methodical, now you're able to blend it with the real-time elements of specifically timing, parries, dodges, charging attacks, stuff like that. That can make it more engaging and make people sit up a little bit more, which is awesome. I love that. One of the other like things is like just the world building. Every bit of it looks so good. The concept with the painter, all of it is very, very impressive. Like I'm having trouble coming up with something that I'm not like really impressed by with it. It's just, it looks so good. Graphically, it looks really good. And it's a small team too. That's the other thing. This is not a big team making this. This is a small team. With this also, yeah, I mean, look at this. Oh God. Oh God.
Once a year, the paintress wakes and paints a number on her monolith, and everyone who has passed that age is erased. Every year that number ticks down, and everyone dies younger and younger. Expeditions depart to kill the paintress, determined to fight until their final breath, but none have ever returned. Our story follows Expedition 33.
Dude, I love it. And it's a clever idea too. That's the thing. My only fear with this game, there's two pieces. Number one is I'm worried it's really short. It's a small team. If it were short, it would be totally fair. And it's almost, I mean, it's a good problem to have because I think it looks so good. I want a lot of it. And I understand that it might not be practical to have a lot of it. The second piece that I am concerned about is performance. As I've said a bajillion times, whenever you see a game showcased, they're showing you the best of what they have to offer, right? They're not going to show you the worst clips. They're not going to show you the parts that are the most rough. They're going to show you the parts that they think are the most impressive. And so if in those showcases, there's still things like frame drops or pop-in or glitches and, you know, things like that, that should make you sit up and be concerned. If you guys recall, Callisto Protocol, that was a huge game, highly anticipated. And in some of the trailers and gameplay reveals that they did, there were dropped frames and there was stuttering and shader compilation stutter and things like that you could see in the gameplay that they were revealing. And I said at the time, if this is what the best footage looks like, imagine what the worst footage looks like. And sure enough, when the game launched, there were major technical problems and major stutter issues. And it's a problem with Unreal Engine in general. So it's nothing new or novel, but that is something to just keep in mind. In this case, being turn-based and being slower paced, I think that, you know, this is the type of game that could be running at 30. And I think that would be perfectly fine. I understand some people just have a hard line, no 30 FPS. Touche, if that's where you're at. Personally, for me, for turn-based stuff, I don't mind if it's at 30, especially if the fidelity is on this crazy level, which is absolutely outrageous. This made me laugh.
Need foot. Aha!
He's very, very.
He just turns into like a gigantic monster. That's super cool. There's a bestial. Let me move my camera. A bestial wheel. Almighty casting spells moves the wheel's pointer. Corresponding skills are more powerful. Like what? That's crazy. It's just a ton of stuff. The other thing that was crazy was, let me see, the world map thing. Yeah, they also have hundreds of passive skills and abilities to combine and put on. Yeah, the world map being like this, that's such a cool melding of old school like JRPG design into modern design. Like I think it's so cool. It's very clever. Look at the Leaning Tower of Eiffel. I don't know what they're going to call it, but it's the Eiffel Tower all bendy and broken and distorted. That's crazy. So I don't know. I just think it looks great. But there were a couple of moments specifically where the frames dropped a lot during a combat clip they showed. And it was very noticeable. And so that's my only main concern is performance. Everything else looks great. And my only other thing is I hope it's not too short because it looks so good. I hope that it's massive. But if it's shorter and it's really good and they maintain this quality all the way throughout, awesome. It just means, you know, hopefully they get greenlit for a massive expansion and or like, you know, a sequel that's 100 hours long. You know, I think that could be cool. So if it's stuttering on PC, on a PC build, that's concerning. Yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly what this is running on. Most likely PC, because again, they want to make it look as good as it possibly can be. But that is a concern that I have, is if we're already seeing performance issues and it's only a few months away, that could be a major issue when the game comes to like console and stuff like that. You know, if it looks this good on a high-end PC and it's still stuttering occasionally, makes you concerned about like the Series S port. What does that look like? You know, it's something to just think about. Still though, like this is why Game Pass is so, like, it's just the cheat code for all of this. If it doesn't run great and you downloaded it through Game Pass, okay, just wait till it's better and then play it then. Like it's kind of the ultimate demo, is that you can just download it and try it. Stutter isn't really an issue on console versus PC with UE5. Well, specifically if it's a shader compilation stutter that is causing it. My understanding is, you know, of course on console, you don't have to worry about compiling shaders because you can pre-compile shaders and have people download them. It's also one of the perks of having a Steam Deck is that developers can actually pre-compile shaders for the Steam Deck. Whereas on a typical PC, when everything is much more dynamic, it has to do that ahead of time after you download it. So if it's a shader compilation stutter, then yeah, there's other stutters that Unreal Engine is responsible for as well, which are tougher to account for. But nonetheless, I mean, the game just looks fantastic and I can tell it's a passion project and I'm here for it. I'm excited. I think it looks fantastic. And again, like if your only frustration beyond technical stuff is that you hope that it's not short because you want a lot of it, that's a good problem to have, because you're like, yeah, right there, that's the stutter, that's the spot I was waiting for. I was letting it play out and watching it. But if I toggle forward frames here, I can even, just so you know, oh damn it, don't do this to me. It went back and then I lose the clip. I'm a professional, don't worry. I tried to why is right clicking? What? Right clicking is searching. What? I right click on the screen. Okay, there we go. Stats for nerds. That's what I wanted. Okay. I don't know where it was. I was going to toggle the time code forward 1 frame at a time. We're close to it. It's like right up here. Almost. Bear with me. Yeah, it's right after this. Because we can get a count of roughly how many frames were dropped by doing this, because we can look at, we can actually count the frames and go back. So if we go back to like here, you can actually toggle forward and see drop frame there. There's a frame, drop frame, drop frame. There's a frame, drop frame, drop frame. There's one, drop frame, drop frame. There's an updated frame, drop frame, drop frame. There's a frame. So it's dropping like 2 for every 1 it renders in this, with this particular particle effect. And you know, during turn-based combat, that's not that crucial. If you're trying to carefully parry something because that element is real time, that's when it becomes a problem. I mean, if you've never tried to play like a Souls-like game or something with frame drops, it's not easy. It's dare I say, not that fun either. So it just depends. It just depends. But I think it just looks so freaking good. And the sheer volume of customization that they're showcasing. I mean, you can see within each of the characters, there's the skill tree, there's passive effects and stuff as well. But then they also have the core attributes outlined on the right of vitality, might, agility, defense, and luck. And then they have different stats for crit rate, defense stats, speed. I wonder what speed affects within combat. I wonder what that does. Attack power, health, obviously, self-explanatory. Leveling. I mean, just that. I mean, it makes me wonder what max level is. Interesting. I'm already trying to decipher how long the game is, how big it is. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I think it looks so good. So I'm excited for this one. This is one that I thought looked good for a while, but I was not ready for it to look so impressive. So here we are. I'm buckled up. I'm ready to go. But let me know what you guys think. Of course. Okay. Okay. Should we talk about... Oh man, I just still can't believe all of that's coming within like a month of each other. You guys are right. There's not a lot of crossover between like South of Midnight and Doom. Like I don't think a lot of the South of Midnight guys, like fans, are going to be playing a lot of Doom. But I still am shocked that Xbox has enough that they're going to pump out 3 of their biggest games that close to each other. Like that's a little insane, is it not? I'm surprised. Yeah, I see you guys saying the 5090 reviews are out. Are there any good written reviews? Because I see the Digital Foundry one just went up. And, you know, it's a 30-minute video, and I'm not sure. I don't want to just do that, but they look at DLSS 4.
We're producing cost-efficient GPUs based on scaling logic, scaling CUDA cores. It's getting harder and harder, more expensive. Improved process technologies do exist, but cost per transistor is not getting much better gen on gen. We've already seen with PS5 Pro that Sony is embracing ray tracing and machine learning. They think that further gains from basic rasterization won't be cost efficient for a console. So by extension, those constraints and challenges are influencing PC hardware as well. Sony is looking to machine learning to power the next frontier of gaming. And
yeah, if anybody doesn't like technologies like DLSS or Pisser or any of those, like hate to tell you that's what all these companies are doubling down on moving forward. Yeah, the CUDA cores being cranked up, that's also, I mean, for creative processes, that's going to be really good. Like for video editing and stuff, that's going to be awesome. For like rendering and stuff like that with hardware accelerated rendering. It's gonna, dude, it's like a freaking microwave. It's insane. This thing will suck up so much power. That's unreal. Yeah, AMD no longer competing at the high end. You're telling me. They have different benchmarks
that
and
Nvidia
stuff.
supplied in a bit. This is the existing.
I mean, 5090, all settings identical, psycho ray tracing. And so, I mean, it's about 30% better. Honestly, that's a bigger jump than I was expecting. I was expecting like maybe in certain games 20% better, but it looks like it's between like 20 and 30% better consistently. So, I mean, that's impressive. That's what you'd hope to see. Checks out. I guess the question is for the average person, which to be fair, the average person is not buying a 5090 for $17,000 or whatever it is. like what performance increase is worth it? You know, I feel like a lot of people, if it's not going to double their frames, it's hard to justify updating and upgrading, you know, because that's a big chunk of change for like 20 more frames, you know. This is a product for stupid whales like me, says Syntax. Kind of, I mean, but we're all kind of like that. I mean, honestly, these are not necessary upgrades. Like, do you need an OLED monitor versus an LCD monitor? No, nobody does. It's a want, not a need. So all of this is, like, to be fair, very much subjective, you know? It's very subjective. Banana Brains, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, OLED looks nice. OLED looks real nice. Once you start using OLED monitors and stuff, I'll tell you what, you can't stop. Also, what the hell is he doing with his microphone? Bro, this just triggered the crap out of me. Why is it pointed down? Did he just move it there accidentally? Does he move it back? No, he leaves it down. What? This is the mini Shure. And these Shure ones, like, they have the input right in front of it. You see? So you're supposed to talk directly into it. What? That shouldn't trigger me as much as it does, but it does, dude. What? It's an Australian microphone? That's why it's all crooked and upside down. That's why it doesn't make any sense. Dude, you want to know the funniest freaking thing ever? I forgot to mention this when I got back. The most like outrageous thing that happened at the AC Shadows event was we're all talking. We're all kind of hanging out together, right? And we all know what Joe Raptor sounds like, you know? We all know. His accent is not Australian, is it? Like, not at all. Not even like kind of close. But at one point, one of the lovely people at Ubisoft on the marketing team, I don't know if she'd find this embarrassing or not, so I'm not going to say her name, but she's a wonderful person, like a highlight every time we see her at any event. But she like makes a quick comment and is like, "Hey, Jor, you're coming with us in the first group." And he's like, "No, because this is just like US." And she's like, "No, but you're Australian, so you come with us." And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "You're Australian, so you come with this group at the 9 a.m. appointment." He's like, I'm not Australian." And she's like, "Okay, haha, but like seriously, you need to come with us."
That was awesome.
Like you
love this. Oh wait. Okay, I was curious about that, but yeah, you have to be careful for the.
Like he does not sound Australian at all. But she's like, "You have a really thick Australian accent." It's like, this is not Australian at all. Like, what? And so we just had this like very funny interaction where we're just sitting at the table or whatever, and we're listening to like somebody argue and say that Jor is Australian when he's very clearly not. And it's just so funny. She's like, "I, no joke, have thought for like 3 years that you were Australian." It's like, I can't even believe that. But totally serious. It was my favorite thing of the entire like 2-day event was just seeing somebody mistake Joe Raptor for a freaking Australian. It was so funny. Oh my God. Also, I didn't mention this in the video, but I did ask them with AC Shadows, if you decapitate someone or if you create a big pool of blood, does that alert enemies and enemy AI? Because I was like, they killed somebody and there's a massive pool of blood in the cold, like white snow. And I said, "Hey, if a NPC guard walked up, you'd think that they would see that. Does that alert enemies to your presence or that something happened, even if you pick up and move the body?" And they actually mentioned something very, very clever, or maybe not clever, something very, a good point. They have a blood and gore effect because certain regions like require it, apparently. And that blood and gore effect, you can toggle on or off. So you can turn off blood completely, or you can turn off decapitations and gore. And so if they had NPCs alert to that, if you had it turned off, you just wouldn't see what they're getting alerted to. So then you'd have to toggle on and off that enemy behavior. And they were like, we also experimented with it and it just wasn't consistent and it just didn't feel right, because you'd like do a combat move, Yasuke would decapitate someone, the head would roll down the hill. And then if that alerted an enemy, people would feel like that's unfair. I didn't want to decapitate him. I was just doing a finisher and that's the one it selected. So it just creates cascading problems. So short answer is no, blood does not alert enemies because you can toggle it off. And so that wouldn't make a lot of sense, but that is a funny thing that we did talk about that I forgot to mention in the video. Okay. What else is there? Oh yeah, we should probably touch on this one. Okay. How did it perform though? Oh, the AC Shadows that we played, the build that we played ran very, very well. I didn't really have any problems that I can think of. There was one where like Yasuke got killed or Nawe got killed, and then like she was using that chain weapon with the like axe looking thing and then the metal ball on the other end of the chain. And when she died, like the chain would kind of glitch and stretch to 50 feet long and like swing around the screen. That happened like once or twice. They said they already fixed that though. There were a couple of like tiny like pop-in happened once on a castle in the distance. But other than that, like the game ran very, very well. Again, we were in a very small, narrow area of the map, so I don't know if that's the same across the whole map, but what we played was actually pretty polished. I would say more polished than most games I played last year. So there you go. Okay, we're at a good pause point with that. So let me catch up on super chats and all of that stuff before we get into the big shakeup that just happened at Warner Brothers that might spell trouble for a Hogwarts Legacy sequel. So buckle up for that. Spencer, thank you for that one. Came from Joystream. The voice acting is awful. It's different. This is the difficulty where I don't know if it's the like Japanese performer and the way that like the cadence with which they speak, or if it's just the actual voice acting, because there is a different cadence, a different way of speaking that you'll see with like historical depictions of Japanese settings. And so I don't really know. The easiest thing is to just play with the Japanese dub. That seems to be what most people are recommending. Campfire Scary Stories, thank you for the 10. For Doom, The Dark Ages, what are some mechanics you hope to see with the new style of combat? Keep up the great work, man. Thank you, my friend. And as for what I hope to see, it's a kind of spoiled now that we've already seen it, but I like that they're going with a little bit heavier movement. I like that they're going with less like crazy spinny floaty movement, and that's very selfish of me, but it's because the verticality jumping, the spinny lightweight movement, some people love it. It makes me super motion sick, like super duper motion sick. And so I just can't play like Doom Eternal. It makes me nauseous as hell. So having something that's a little more weighty and a little slower, I love, because it makes me feel like I could actually play the game and not get super sick, which I like. I can play other FPSs just fine, but id Tech ones, for whatever reason, man, I struggle with. Infinity Project, thank you for the 5. Had a funny t-shirt idea for you. You dress like Gandalf with the caption, "You shall not hype." Ooh, I like that. That's actually, yeah, that could work. That could be funny. Thank you for that one. I'll send an email to my merch guy, see if he can draft something up. That's funny. I like that. Steven, thank you for the 5. Can Doomslayer handle a massive strike from Henry of Skalitz though? No. Sure can't. What a crossover that would be, man. Can you imagine? Curtis Dunn, thank you for the 5. Forspoken 2 looking game. Or Forspoken 2 looking good. I think you sent that probably, I would guess, around South of Midnight. I don't think the writing in South of Midnight so far, from what I've seen, seems solid enough. Forspoken, you saw one cutscene and it went viral for being so cringe. I don't think anything we've seen is on that level here. For me, South of Midnight just looks like the combat is going to be the weak point. Which is too bad because the combat seems to be a pretty core pillar, but we'll see. Where am I? Bada Bing, thank you for the 5. Concept is too complex yet too abstract. Gameplay is predictable. Story seems distracted. 10 out of 10 IGN. Also not enough water. Or was it too much water? I don't remember. Which was it? Was it too much water? Because it was about Zelda, right? But were they complaining about too much or too little? I don't know. It was too much water? Okay. Yeah. Can you imagine? Can you imagine having like one line from your review live on for years because of how ridiculous it was? Just for something, you're talking about Wind Waker and you're just like, hey, I think there's too much water. And it just lives on forever. It's like that GameSpot review. People often think it was IGN, but with that Miles Morales review where GameSpot's whatever reviewer said, and Miles Morales really feels like a different character than Peter, and he walks with the exaggerated swagger of a black teenager. It's like, what? But people often say that that was IGN, but it was actually a GameSpot review. It was just so like out of pocket. It's so funny. But we looked it up. The review is still up. You can still find it. Like, they didn't cut it out to their credit, I guess. It's just so funny. Or the guy, yeah, like Loxy says, the guy that tried to play Cuphead, who complained about the game being too hard while not being able to complete the tutorial, also was hilarious. Yeah, dude, there's so many examples of those just crazy. Like, how is this even real things within gaming? I love it. Oh, man. South of Midnight frame rate, I don't know if I like that. Diego, that is it's in cutscenes. It's the lower frame rate to mimic stop motion animation. I believe they said you can turn that off in the settings. I believe they said that. Don't quote me on that, but I vaguely recall hearing that you could toggle it off if you don't like it. But it is one of those things to like mimic the stop motion style. Doom of Sidon, thank you for 8 months. Ooh, baby. Sky Oblivion is set to come out this year. There, you will get a good remake, guys. Yeah, I don't know about this like Oblivion remake in Unreal Engine that's being rumored. Again, it's like part of it, if that comes out and let's say it's really good and they show like what an Elder Scrolls game in Unreal Engine could be like, and let's say they do a good job with it. Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be Creation Engine again. So it's just going to make it look even more ridiculous. Like, imagine if the remake from years before Elder Scrolls 6 ends up feeling, playing, running way better than Elder Scrolls 6. Like, it's going to make that game look so bad in comparison. I don't know. It'll be funny, though. It'll be funny. Haven't seen the AC Shadow Story trailer yet. Yeah, we actually got to see it as part of the preview event. They showed it to us ahead of time. It's a pretty good trailer, honestly. I think they did a good job cutting it together. Roberto Robles, thank you for the super chat. Hey, Luke, unrelated question. I tend to watch the stream when I am available, but for some reason, the one yesterday is not showing in the live tab of the channel. Any idea why? Yeah, we got a copyright strike. So, what I tried to file like the appeal thing. I don't know if they're going to process it quickly. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. If they don't, then I think I'm just going to use their editor and cut out the segment or whatever, and then we can put it back up. But it happens every once in a while. Whatever. Like, honestly, this stream is probably going to get copyright struck because I think some of the music they used for the showcase was probably copyrighted, especially when they started playing it for South of Midnight. So it happens, but it just comes with the territory. Let's see. And then Jacob, thank you for the 5. I'm convinced that ZeniMax Online Studios will be shut down soon, slowing down ESO development 7 years on a new IP with no news. I don't think they'll be shut down. I mean, shutting a studio down is a massive deal, especially one that big. I do think that they're phasing out ESO, but I also think that they have been working for 7 years on a new IP that they're not going to just dump. Or I don't know. I don't actually know if it's a new IP or if it's just a new project that's unannounced. Because there was speculation for years that was going to be a massive like Fallout 76 could have been, you know, that type of thing, or that they were going to do just a gigantic, like, I don't even know, but there was speculation. I don't recall the details of it, but who knows? But I think we do see that might be something we see in June, for all we know. Sandfall isn't an Xbox studio. Yeah, that's right. They're like an independent studio. Xbox just landed the Game Pass rights to it. True. Fact check, true. Okay. And then Caleb, thank you for 7 months. Hey, Luke, was in and out of stream yesterday, but did you see how EA talked about Dragon Age Veilguard only reaching 1.5 million players, not sales, but players? Yeah, that happened and dropped like 20 minutes after we shut down the stream, which is just typical. But I do have that pulled up. We can talk about it. News, so EA had like an earnings call kind of thing, and as part of that, they lowered their revenue forecast for the current fiscal year. And they said that was due to the disappointing performance of FC25 and then also the disappointing performance of Dragon Age the Veilguard. Specifically, EA said on Wednesday that Dragon Age the Veilguard, released in October, engaged around 1.5 million players during the 3 months ended December 31st, 2024, which it said was nearly half of its expectations. Engaged is weird to me, because that word could mean like almost anything, but what I think it means that they're counting players, even those who refunded the game, and I think that they also are potentially counting players that were playing on shared copies of the game. In other words, like I bought the game, or did I buy the game or did I have it? No, I did have to buy it because they never sent review codes because that was a whole debacle. But anyway, so I bought a copy on PlayStation so that we could do like a review of it. And so it was on the console upstairs, the PS5 in the family room. And so my wife, she was like, I want to play it. So we have the like console game, whatever, sharing on PlayStation. So she played it, even though it was my copy. So I think they're counting her in that number, even though she didn't technically buy her own copy, which again is why the term engaged, I think, is crucial. Because if they said, hey, we sold 1.5 million units, you'd think that they would just say that, but they don't say that. Either way, it's probably less than 1.5 million copies sold. And to be clear, they were expecting, because I see people in chat like, well, 3 million or 1.5 million sounds really good. The problem is they were expecting 3 million. And this is what I said for months, is I was like, do I think that Dragon Age Veilguard made money, like turned a profit? No, I don't think so. But the question is, what did they expect? Did they expect to lose $50 million on the game, or did they expect to lose $150 million on the game? Because if they expected to lose $150 million, and because they restarted development and worked on it for so long, like there was no way it was going to make a profit. But if they expected to lose $150 million and they only lost 75, that technically outperforms their expectations, right? Then that's good news for them. However, we just didn't know what they were internally expecting. We didn't know that number. Now we know the number. They expected 3 million copies or so, and they achieved 1.5 million engaged players over the 3 months, which they said was nearly half of their expected units, which is insane. So now they expect their net bookings of around 2.21 billion for its third quarter and an updated range of 7 to 7.15 billion for the fiscal year, down from 7.5 to 7.8. So both the FC performance slowdown and then also the disappointing performance of Dragon Age has accounted for roughly a $500 to $700 million miss from what they were expecting, which is a lot. I mean, a lot of that is FC 25 because FC 25 makes them like billions, these FC games. But still, they've said other things. You know, they've worked on all sorts of stuff. They had high hopes. They were expecting, you know, some big stuff, but who knows? Who knows exactly what went on behind the scenes? But something happened. It missed their expectations by a lot. And, you know, I don't think they were expecting it to turn a profit. 3 million units on a game that they spent so much time and so much money on as Dragon Age Veilguard. 3 million units would not turn a profit for them. So they were expecting to lose money on it, but they lost even more money than they expected, which is what's crucial. So I can't say I'm shocked. The game was pretty lackluster in the final form, and they had a lot of really elementary blunders in terms of like marketing and communicating things like confidence to players that just didn't need to happen. Like the most obvious one is the review situation. They didn't need to blunder that so hard, but they told a bunch of YouTubers and streamers, hey, we're going to send you review codes or send you codes to play the game on launch day. And then they just ghosted those streamers and those players and those reviewers. And so now you've ticked off all the reviewers. The reviewers told their audience, expect a review from me soon. And they never got the review. And so then their audience is like, okay, well, why did you hide it from the guy I wanted to see the review of? There's just so many implications of something so stupid like that. What did Nikki think of the game? She was very disappointed by it, which to me is the actual like crushing critique of it. She was frustrated that there wasn't really any consequence. There's almost no replay value to the game. All of the major consequence in the game comes down to whether you are best friends with each of the party members, and whether they become part of the Veilguard or whatever they call it, the max level friendship ranking. And the other thing, just to be real, the romances suck ass. Okay, and not literally. At least that would have been interesting. They just suck ass. There's like nothing. It's all fade to blacks. There's like nothing fun about it. It's all just super short and not particularly interesting. It's all dumb. Yeah. And the game basically turns into a friendship simulator, but not a very good one. And I always go back to what JV said about it in that tweet. What JV said about it, I thought was brilliant. He tweeted out and said, Dragon Age the Veilguard feels like a game that was put together by people who have gone to a lot of therapy and casually use a lot of therapy language. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. But once you hear kind of how they talk, you can't unhear it. It's crazy. Like it's all throughout the game. And like the most crushing thing and annoying thing to me was that there'd be like a really serious situation. Somebody's about to die. The city is burning. Well, as long as we gave it our best and we focus on our friendships, that's all you can really ask for. No. Or like something is awful is happening. There's a demonic elder elf god that is about to kill thousands. And somebody's like complaining that their mom wanted them to wear a different outfit when they were growing up. And in any other situation, in real life, if we're on a boat and the boat is sinking and we have the chance of potentially saving people on that boat, and you start whining about some childhood trauma, I'm going to tell you to suck it up and like shut up. because this is not the time. I'm like, I understand that's a trauma. I appreciate that. I'm sorry. Not the time. Let's go stop all those children from dying. But apparently that makes me like insensitive or something. It was tonally all over the place. It asked you to take these situations seriously, but the characters didn't. And it didn't work. It just was really bizarre, and it required you to kind of turn your brain off. You know, and that's the other piece is any game that requires you to just shut your brain off to certain pieces of it for sake of, I don't know, some narrative component. The narrative component needs to be really freaking good, because there's even a line of dialogue where like the old, I already forgot his name. The necromancer dude, where he has a line, and they're all talking about what they're going to do. They're all talking about how we're going to stop these evil elven gods. And they're like, well, if we want to stand a chance, we need to sort through our personal problems first. We must work together. For if we can refine, I forget the exact line, but it's like, if we can basically become bestest friends, nothing will be able to stop us. It's like, shut up. Like, shut up. I really struggle to take this world seriously. If you're like, if we focus on the power of friendship, we can come together. I'm like, shut up. Yeah, shut up, Meg. It's exactly that. It's just, nobody cares, okay? We're dealing with something here. But that's the problem, is there was no option to even say that. And that's what kind of drove me crazy, is that no matter what, no matter how insufferably stupid the complaints or complaining was from any of the characters, the player character never had the option to just say, shut up. Like, no, let's focus. What are we doing? Everybody had to like act as though they were totally justified and oh yeah, your anxieties over this thing that somebody in the party, some other member of our team made a comment about what you're wearing, and I understand that stresses you out. You're valid for thinking that. I'm like, nah, sometimes your freak out is not valid, and maybe you should shut up because we're trying to save lives. Okay, let's talk about it later. But you can never say that. You had to always just be like, that's a very good, very valid feeling. That's kind of what I think JV was trying to get at, is it's that therapy language where you should never tell anybody, not the time, shut up. Everything is always, no, that's very, very valid. I totally appreciate and validate you. Like, sometimes if the Titanic is sinking, this is not the time to talk about some trauma from years bygone. Like, sometimes we got to focus on the task at hand. And if you're going to ask me to take the story seriously, that I feel is something that you should have to do. Okay. Anyway, so what does this mean for the future of BioWare? I mean, they expected them to lose a lot of money on Dragon Age. I don't think that was a surprise. I think they were surprised that they lost as much as they did, but I think that they were expecting to lose money on it pretty clearly. If they were only expecting $3 million for a massive, big budget AAA game, then yeah, I mean, they weren't expecting to make much on it, but still, it severely underperformed. At the same time, they have a Mass Effect game in the works, and they need to learn the lessons of Dragon Age Veilguard. Otherwise, they're definitely going to be screwed. Because if that Mass Effect game, I think it will see the light of day. Some people are saying it's going to be canceled. They're going to shut BioWare down. I don't think so. I think they're going to let them do Mass Effect. But Mass Effect is a game they're building from the ground up for the shape it's going to take. They aren't going to do this. Like, the problem with Dragon Age Veilguard is that it was built as a live service game, swapped back to single player, went back to being a multiplayer game, and then back to a single player game. Like, they restarted development on it multiple times. Different directors, different producers worked on it. It's a hodgepodge of a bunch of different systems and ideas that never really made sense. Honestly, the fact that it got released at all is kind of amazing. But Mass Effect, whatever they call it, is going to be built from the ground up intentionally with that single player vision. And so if that isn't good, they literally have no excuse. Like literally no excuse. So we'll see. But we said it so many times, they will learn. I mean, I'm not convinced they will learn, because there's certain things where, like, if a team is rushed or if a team was forced to try to make something like a live service game and then flip it back to single player, that stuff, yeah, give them more time, more budget, give them the freedom to do what they need to do, and they'll figure it out. The problems with Dragon Age the Veilguard had to do with, like, being out of touch with the gaming industry and the gaming community and the players. That's not something that magically gets fixed overnight, because it's the same kind of writing problems and tonal problems that have plagued a lot of big studios in recent years, and that's not something that they typically admit is wrong. It's typically like, no, it's your fault for not liking that. In which case, yeah, okay, well then it's my fault I'm not buying your game, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. Every once in a while I look at chat and I'm like, just like, what the hell are people talking about? Like, what? Jesus Christ. Okay, let's touch on this real quick. News, Sentry, thing for the 2 months. We need an actual dark fantasy RPG again. Yeah, I agree. I can't wait for... I'm hoping The Witcher 4 is another dark fantasy thing, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Who knows? Okay, let's touch on this. You ready? Warner Brothers Games chief David Haddad to exit. An exclusive report from Variety. He's leaving his role after 12 years leading the division. He's going to stay for 3 months while they look for a replacement. And what they said specifically was, David has thoughtfully and purposefully chosen a time when our release schedule is lighter, which will help minimize disruption to our ongoing projects and strategic plans to allow this team to smoothly prepare for its next record-breaking title. So he's headed out. It's not exactly clear why. I mean, this is also telling. Haddad's exit comes out on the heels of a bumpy few quarters for Warner Brothers Gaming results, with lackluster performance of Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, to say the very least. Also, they, of course, compared it to the Hogwarts Legacy performance, but Zaslav and CFO Gunnar Weidenfels have both noted the plan is to increasingly shift focus from AAA games that take years to make and shift to always online, online live service titles and mobile game offerings like Game of Thrones Conquest. The company is also intent on prioritizing titles from its top IP, including Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, and the DC Universe, and Mortal Kombat. It sounds to me like Mr. Haddad was one of the last holdouts of the single player game prioritization faction, whatever, at Warner Brothers. And over the last few years, I mean, it's been kind of jarring, because you'll hear this guy, Haddad, mentioning how they're focused on those single player experiences, how they want to like double down on what made Hogwarts Legacy great. Because I think he understood that Hogwarts Legacy gave players what they wanted in a Harry Potter format, and that's why it worked out so great. But then you would hear David it is David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, who has single-handedly been tanking the company for the last handful of years. You would hear him say, no, we're shifting all of our stuff towards live service, multiplayer offerings. We want to make sure that we can offer players games that live for years, that we can monetize with cosmetics and things. We want to also bring those games to mobile devices, because the mobile gaming market is massive. And it's the quintessential example of when an executive who knows nothing about gaming literally thinks, like, you all have phones, don't you? If we make a Harry Potter game that runs on your phone, you'll be happy because it's a Harry Potter game that runs on your phone and you have a phone. Like, there is no consideration for what kinds of games are on the mobile devices, on what kinds of games players want on console versus, single player versus live service. There's no conceptualization of any of that. It's all just game on this device, of which there are many. Boom. And then if we can make it a live service game, it'll make more money. Let's just make a Harry Potter Fortnite game. Can we do that? That's the level we're dealing with here. And my sneaking suspicion, as I'm sure many of you are also perhaps considering, is that finally the headbutting was just at its end. And David Haddad was like, I swear to God, if you turn Hogwarts Legacy 2 into a live service game, people are going to freak out and it will flop. And you're going to waste hundreds of millions of dollars. And at some point, they just agreed to disagree, and then he's going to ride off into the sunset, so his hands are clean. You'll notice they don't say that he's retiring. They phrase it as exiting his role. It's very interesting. I'm so proud of everything we've accomplished together at Warner Brothers Games during my time with the company. It's been an absolute pleasure working on and building our iconic gaming franchises. I will continue to be enthusiastic supporter of this talented team's future endeavors. I look forward to working on the next chapter of my career. I will always be grateful for my time with Warner Brothers Games. It says he's not doing that. He has decided to depart the company. He's not retiring. Like, it really does start to sound like there's been some shift that he didn't want to be a part of. And I think, at some point, if a company tells you 15,000 times that they are focused on mobile and live service games moving forward, at some point after the 15,001th time, you should listen. And so this, again, is just another time where I'm like, okay, we're going to watch Hogwarts Legacy 2 or whatever it is very closely. Very closely. Because this was the last guy, at least that we know of publicly, who was very, very insistent and seemed to get why Hogwarts Legacy popped off. Whereas David Zaslav is like, no, well, we'll just make Hogwarts Legacy 2 and make it live service and then put it on phones. Like, it's the ultimate boomer mentality of just not understanding at all what he's talking about. It's crazy. So you would think after Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, they would be sitting up and maybe paying attention and be like, hey, maybe this is a bad idea, but apparently not. I think perhaps more telling than just him leaving, though, is going to be seeing who they put in his place. Because as with all of these things, you can tell a lot about a company's goals and ideas based on who they put in certain positions. Like Apple, when they replaced Steve Jobs, when he stepped down before he passed away, they replaced him with Tim Cook. Tim Cook came from the supply chain side of their business, and his main claim to fame was his ability to distribute Apple products internationally. And so they brought Tim Cook on to try and help expand the iPhone business into China, into India, into all of these other markets. They still haven't been able to break into Indonesia, but they're trying. So that can tell you a lot about what they're doing. Same with Jim Ryan. PlayStation hires Jim Ryan to head up their business, and his big push was live service stuff. And that told you PlayStation's going to try to push live service first and foremost. And that's what they did over the next 4 years, over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's been an unmitigated disaster. And with this, whoever they put in his place, whoever they replace him with, is going to tell you everything you need to know, whether they learned from Suicide Squad or not. And I'm guessing they didn't. And it's just going to make me, watch Hogwarts Legacy 2 all the more carefully. And maybe, that could stand a chance of being still good and not monetized out the ass because it's been created over the last couple years while David Haddad has been in his position. But I would not be shocked at all if part of this departure is motivated by a disagreement on direction. So we'll see. We'll see. So Suicide Squad Concord wasn't good enough to teach the boomer suits a lesson. No, part of it is like that is part of the expectation. As we've said, like the goal with live service has been that you work on 20 projects, and if one of them pops off and becomes a Fortnite level success, it pays for all the flops and then some because it makes so many billions of dollars. So to launch a Concord and have it blow up and be a disaster and lose tons of money is almost expected. Like that's just part of the process of trying to get a live service game off the ground. Like you're going to make a lot of stuff that doesn't connect, but you just hope you find one that pops off. How many flops does it take to get a W? I think PlayStation has now realized too many. And that's why you're seeing Hiroki Totoki come in and like kick ass and take names and be like, we're not doing this anymore. What are we doing? We're not wasting another $5 billion on this stuff. And so they're making that pivot, but we'll see. Warner Brothers, I don't think is learning the lesson. They're so desperate for something that I think they're just going to start chucking Hail Marys. And if that Hail Mary is a Hogwarts Legacy live service game, I think that is what they're going to try to do, Wasn't Justice League a live service before David Z entered the company? Do you mean Suicide Squad? Do you mean Suicide Squad? I'm not, because it was a live service. Is that what you mean? Not sure what you mean. Let's see. Mighty Venom, off topic, but just finished the Shadows preview video. Really enjoyed it. The eagle being gone made me sad to BH just because I like birds. When I asked the creative director about it, he was like, early on in the development, we were like, what's something we could do to shake things up? What are some of these pillars that we could subvert expectations with? And they said, we have the bird. We have the birds no matter what. We can add them back in like a day. But let's just try taking it out and seeing what fills the gaps and what other cool ideas we could come up with if we take the bird out. So they tried it and they ended up really liking what they found, and what they ended up adding. Yeah. Does Shadows have a modern day element? My understanding is the entire modern day is now in the Animus Hub. Like that's the entire thing. It's all just in the Animus Hub. I think the whole goal was they wanted to stop doing the like Layla thing where you just randomly get pulled out of the game and have to do a modern day segment that's super boring with a character nobody cares about. And so they just were like, let's cut it out. They're going to have some modern day stuff as part of the Animus Hub, I'm sure, where they explore that more intentionally with like cutscenes and videos and things like that. But I think it's going to be much less of a focus. Yeah. Well, I think also a lot of it is that they've done the surveys, they've done the polls, and overwhelmingly AC players don't like the modern day stuff. They don't like booting up AC like for Black Flag, and while they're sailing their pirate ship, all of a sudden they have to go load out into a modern day segment that has nothing to do with what they were just doing. Players just don't like it. And there's some players that love it because they love the Abstergo lore and all of that. But those people are a tiny, tiny minority of the overall player base. And I think they're just finally trying to listen to what the vast, vast, vast majority of players think. And I can attest, like, it's always frustrated me to be playing like Black Flag's a great example, because you'll go from like a really serious pirate mission and then you have to load out into a modern day segment, and it's just really jarring and it feels out of place. It killed the pacing, it killed the immersion. It just was not great, you know? Yeah. But they also pull you out to do inane stuff. Yeah. If they made it more exciting. I remember, was it No, was it Assassin's Creed 3 where like you even had that segment where you are out and you climb the skyscraper and stuff like that? There's some cool stuff that they've done before and that they could continue to do, but I think they just realized it's just not that easy, you know? There's just so much to account for. Lantern Smite over on Twitch. I mean, that's what got me into the franchise, is a combination going in with the past to unravel the present. I guess I'm in that small part of the community. Yeah, and my understanding is they're still going to have stuff to give you the narrative component of that. I just think that they, at least seemingly, are not going to tie that into like the gameplay side of things. So we'll see. We'll see. But they also said with the Animus Hub, there's more to share that we can't show you yet. I don't know. I don't know what that means. That could mean, oh, there's a bunch of monetized stuff we haven't shown you. It could also mean there's a bunch more free stuff we haven't shown you. It could also mean that there's going to be a separate thing where you can press a button and load out of the Animus, and then you go walk around an Abstergo complex or something that gets populated over the next 10 years with new little narrative stuff as new games release. You know, there's all sorts of stuff that they could do. We just don't know yet. Yakuza Like a Pirate pre-ordered. Chip combat looks great. It looks insane. The fact that they threw that game together in 18 months is ridiculous. But yeah, that's crazy. Alan, I noticed there's no $120 version of the game. Yeah, I mean, Ubisoft, to their credit, they saw the reception of Star Wars Outlaws and the bajillion different versions they had and all of that. And they have tried very, very hard to respond to that and be more pro-consumer in their approach, removing things like the full season pass, removing like how they had all of the pre-order bonuses structured. Like they've totally rebuilt it. Like just pre-ordering AC Shadows, just pre-ordering it gets you the first expansion that has like 10 hours of gameplay and an all new island, just like for free. Like, yeah, if you pre-order it, you get the whole new region after launch. They're just giving that away. That's crazy. Trying to save their ass from bankruptcy. I mean, they're trying to save their ass from having to sell to Tencent and then the Guillemot family having to leave. Like somebody asked on stream the other day, they're like, do you think that Ubisoft goes bankrupt? I don't think they go bankrupt because bankruptcy has a very specific meaning financially. And based on their financials, I don't think they're close to that yet. And I think they would sell or something well before they get into that situation. But do I think that they have to do something to fix their business? Yes. Because as it is right now, it's not working. So they've got to do something. But the big problem is the Guillemot family, the CEO and brothers and cousins and everybody, none of them want to leave. None of them want to give up power. And so now they're just desperately trying to figure out how to get some bargaining chip with Tencent. Because if this doesn't make a ton of money, then Tencent can come in and basically run the show. Say, we're doing it this way, we're doing it that way. You're going to leave. You're going to get fired. We're going to put our person here, you know, and they're not going to have much of a say. Which is why it's interesting that they're considering splitting off into a separate company and some of the Guillemot family taking some IP with them. So you could see a situation where Ubisoft remains, Tencent takes control of it, but then the Guillemot brothers go off and they get to launch a new company venture, but they take with them like, I'm trying to think of like more obscure Ubisoft IP. Like they take a handful of obscure IP you know, whatever those may be. Maybe Prince of Persia, maybe they take with them frickin' Beyond Good and Evil 2, you know, they take some older stuff or some more niche stuff, and then Ubisoft keeps, Rayman, maybe Splinter Cell, Ubisoft might keep that, but they're considering doing that, all just so the Game Off family can stay in control of something, which is really bizarre, but hey, if that's what they have to do, that's what they have to do. Yeah, the Uno game. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's funny. Oh, man. Was Eagle Vision removed? No. Eagle Vision is there, but only for Nawe. Yasuke does not have it. Another reason why I'm like, why would you ever play as Yasuke? That's the big thing, is I just, after playing that demo, I just honestly do not know why anybody would play with Yasuke. Other than you just like to run up and smash stuff. And if that's how you want to play, cool. But that's been a big component of it, is that they have made Nawe like a very solid, awesome assassin archetypal character. But then when it comes to Yasuke, it's like, and he can smash stuff, and I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. I think they could even ruin Uno. I mean, imagine if they're like, the +4 wild cards are now an extra $1.99 or something like that. Can you imagine? I wouldn't put it past them, but I mean, you just never know. Oh man. Yeah, or Uno, they try to learn from Balatro, and they do something where it's like, each of the cards is an NFT. So if you want a foil +4 wild, that is $1. If you want a foil red mark reverse card, that is going to be an extra $2.99, but you can get it with a foil as well. And that version is like $130. And oh man, stop giving them ideas. I'd bet you money they've already talked about that in like the company. I would bet you the second Yves Guillemot was sitting watching the Game Awards and he sees Balatro getting all these awards. That is a good idea. We should do that. Starts calling people up. I figured out how we save our company. NFT Uno. Oh man, it would kill me. Yeah, live service Uno, the reverse card comes in season 4. Yeah, and they're like, we're very optimistic we'll be able to get to season 4 without canceling, but also we're going to cancel if we don't get there. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, Carnage. He played the first 3 hours of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And he just said, just wrapped up the first 3 hours. Yep, it's that good. It's really, really that good. Going to be hard waiting for February 4th. Yeah, dude, for real, it is that good. We weren't kidding. Those of us who went to the preview thing, we weren't kidding when we said it's that good. Man. Oh, AC Shadows, they dropped spec sheets too? Oh. Ultra-wide supports ultra-wide. Okay. Are they saying how big it is? GPU, CPU, visual... I don't see that, but extended ray tracing extreme levels, they say a 4090 is what's recommended for RT enthusiast, 4080 at 1440p, ultra settings, 60 FPS, and then you can upscale from there. Okay. Standard ray tracing, but if you don't want that, you can do selective ray tracing. Recommended 1080p 60 or enthusiast 1440p to 4K. 4K you'll need a 4070 or a 7900 XT, or for 1440p you'll need a 3080 or a 6800 XT. Okay. And then my understanding is like DLSS. Oh, wait, no, it does say using dynamic resolution and upscaling. So these are the resolutions with upscaling. So 4K at 60 with a 4070 using DLSS or something to hit there. 1440p at 60 with DLSS and upscaling, you'll need a 3080. And then for the extreme stuff, I mean, you need 4090, 4080. And it supports DLSS 3.7, AMD FSR 3.1, and also Intel XeSS 2. It's not often you see XeSS supported. That's crazy. I mean, it's heavy. It's a heavy ass game. Oh, will my 780 run it? I do not think so. I do not think so. I remember, dude. I remember back in the day watching YouTube videos where like a streamer was showing off their like 780s, or like, I remember, this is how old I am. I remember seeing a video, I wonder if I can find it, of Boogie before he like imploded. And he was talking about getting a new PC. And he was showing off 9 years ago. This might be, yeah, old school Boogie 2015. I remember watching this, and I think he said he got a couple of 980s or 970s or something. It's like a blast from the past. A Z170. Wow. Oh, with a disk drive, you got to have it. A 4 terabyte hard drive. Oh, a 750 series SSD. The i7 unlocked. Wow. And then a 980 Ti. I remember seeing this and be like, wow, that's the dream. Imagine having a 980 Ti in your gaming PC. I was blown away. I was blown away. It's like, that's the dream. That's the dream. Now Boogie is, I mean, he's in a different spot than I think we all would have guessed back then. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, he's a what a guy. What a guy. That story did not end the way anybody thought it would end. It's still not technically a over, but still. Yeah, he's a lolcow now. Did I buy his meme coin? No. Dude, people ask me, they're like, are you gonna launch one? I was like, no. Why would I do it? You're just like asking me openly, will you just like steal money from your audience? No. Why? No. It blows me away that like anybody would even not just launch a meme coin, but also that they would buy one from somebody else that they fought. Like, it blows my mind. It is literally somehow just a legit, or I don't even know if it's legal, but it seems to be because so many people do it. It's just like a legitimized way for people to do pump and dumps. And it blows me away. It blows me away. And the fact that people keep falling for it, it's almost like a stupid tax, you know? It's like the only people falling for it, buying Hawk Tua coin, are the people that probably deserve to lose their money to Hawk Tua coin, you know? But still, it seems so predatory. It's so toxic and stupid. So why people have asked me, they're like, oh, do you own a lot of crypto? I was like, no, you couldn't pay me to own crypto, dude. I buy stock. That's what I do. I buy stock. I even told you guys the one stock that I've made a lot of money on this last like few months has been Archer Aviation. Not financial advice, to be very clear, but I made a bunch of money on that based on some articles I read. I bought a bunch of it and I made a bunch of money, like triple my money on that stock. But it's stock. I buy stock. I'm not buying freaking Hawk Tua coin. Can you imagine? Just, oh. That whole thing just gives me heartburn. Just thinking about people buying a meme coin, thinking I'm investing. Like, how dare you? I just can't even fathom it. Luke to a coin. Or options. Yeah, dude. People trading options thinking that they're like investing when literally it is just gambling. That's the other thing that drives me crazy is people not understanding the difference between speculation and gambling and investing. Like it's the same exact thing. When you are doing that, you're just gambling. But they think that they're investing. So they think that they're being responsible when in reality, they're just rolling the dice. What's worse, crypto pump and dump or NFTs? I mean, I guess at least at this point, there's the potential to make money with a pump and dump if you're the one pumping and dumping. Whereas NFTs, like you literally are just burning your money. It's like I don't think there is a way that in 2025 you could possibly make money on an NFT. So I guess technically on technicality, you got me. It would be crypto in that case. Because at least if you're the one scamming people, you can make money. Jesus. Yeah, the pump and dump thing doesn't make any sense because it's like, if you do it with stocks, you go to jail. You do it with crypto and people are like, yeah, well, that's crypto. I just don't understand how it's so common and people keep doing it and getting away with it. I genuinely don't understand. I thought it was all illegal, but apparently you can get away with it if you're doing it with crypto. It's so stupid. Let me catch up on this. Gavin, thank you for the 5. Black Flag remake this year, Luke. Was it brought up in conversation with those at UB? No, none of them talked about it. And to be fair, none of those people in Quebec would be familiar. I mean, I'm sure maybe some of the producers and stuff are familiar with the schedules, but none of the people in Quebec are working on the Black Flag remake. I mean, that's being done by Singapore. So it's a totally different team on the other side of the world working on that. But Tom Henderson reported out like a few weeks ago that it's expected to still hit 2025. So there's a very real chance that we get the Black Flag remake in like November or something. That wouldn't surprise me. William, Luke's lying. He's about to do a pump and dump. He's just trying to get our guards down. Yeah, it's all part of the plan. Man, life would be a lot easier, I'm sure, if I was willing to just do that stuff, but I just can't do it, man. I cannot believe that so many content creators and stuff have done it. But hopefully like the SEC or whoever catches up on them. Or catches up with them. Okay. And then the Handsome Woman card. Dude, I just saw that now those guys are trying to get Monster Hunter Wilds canceled because they're saying that Monster Hunter is woke. Like, we've reached peak brain rot. I thought we were already there, but like they're literally trying to cancel Monster Hunter. I don't even know why. Like, they're saying because Capcom is woke or because there's women in the trailer or something. And I'm like, they literally, it's just Puritanism at this point. Like, at this point, they can't even play Monster Hunter because they're going to like cancel each other if they dare to play it. It's just honestly amazing. Yeah, it's crazy. Have you considered creating a Blue Sky account? Honestly, can't stand the amount of scams and assets on Twitter now. I mean, my problem is I'm just not good at social media. Just by doing this for a living, I'm not good at social media. I struggle with posting, period. Like even on one platform. Somebody asked me at the preview event, they're like, oh, what's your Instagram? I was like, I could not tell you the last time I logged into Instagram. I have no idea. It's like, I just don't. I couldn't tell you last time I logged into a Facebook account or posted a selfie or something. Like I am terrible at social media. And I kind of hate it too. So I'm like, the fewer social media accounts I can have, the better. But part of it is like the only reason I still have an X account is because there's a lot of, like we've done sponsorships, for example, where they're like, hey, we'll send you a box of HelloFresh. And we just ask that you send out a tweet or a post on X about it. So I'm like, okay, I'll keep the account open for that. And I'm like, I can make a YouTube community post that will do way better, have more views and stuff on it. They're like, no, the brand just says X account. It has to be an X account. So I'm like, okay. So that's pretty much why I have it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the Monster Hunter thing drives me crazy. But I'm like, hey, more for me. I don't even know if they're serious anymore. I don't even know. Swerve and Dune, thank you for the 5. Do you see a future for Star Wars RPG in the vein of KOTOR? I know game companies are leery due to licensing fees. Which studio would be up for it? I don't think any studio would be up for it because they immediately give up 30% of their revenue. And little birdie told me somebody that was working on a Star Wars game with Disney relatively recently, they told me it was a quote, this is the exact word they used, nightmare working with Disney on Star Wars stuff. So I just think modern Disney would not be capable of doing something like that. Yeah. Baroloto, we talked about it earlier on the stream. It's they pretty clearly, if they were expecting 3 million units, that's not enough to turn a profit on that game that was in development for so long by such a big studio. So they expected to lose money on it. They just did not expect to lose that much money on it. And the verbiage was also really telling when they're like, we engaged 1.5 million players instead of just saying we sold 1.5 million units. It's like, okay, so you sold less, or you're counting like people who played it and then returned it on Steam, which I'm sure was a decent number. So the whole thing was just predictable, but I don't think any of us expected it to be as bad as it was. I mean, they missed their targets by 50%. That's not good. That is not good. That's like, you remember the whole scandal of like the threat of Bungie being shut down and PlayStation firing executives and coming in and taking over leadership and everything? That was because they missed their financial targets by 50%. And it basically led to major leadership shakeups. It led to PlayStation coming in, taking control of the company. Like the whole thing kind of fell apart because they missed by that same amount. So yeah, that whole thing is crazy. Swerve and Dune, thank you for that super chat though. Sayura-san, thank you for resubbing with Prime as well. 4 months here, and finally Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on PC. What a great day. Yeah, I've even seen people playing it on Steam Deck too. I did not expect it to run well on Steam Deck, but apparently it did. Apparently it's fine. When do we get news updates on GTA 6? They're going to drop it out of nowhere. The only person I think that could break the story of a leak would be Jason Schreier, because he's the one that leaked and reported that they were going to drop the original announcement trailer. And he knew when and how and all of that. So Jason Schreier seems to have the source. So I would watch his accounts. But I mean, even with that, I'm sure they're going to just shadow drop it out of nowhere. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. It's always Jason. Yeah, I mean, Jason, he's got crazy contacts, and I mean, he knows what'll get the clicks. It's kind of frustrating because sometimes it's like, yeah, that would have been a fun surprise. Like, imagine if they just dropped the announcement trailer for GTA 6 out of nowhere and we had no idea. That'd be really exciting. Really, really exciting. But instead, like, it gets leaked and, you know, it's a little frustrating. I get it. It's what he does. It's what journalists do. They break stories, and that's just part of the game. But still, it's a little frustrating when something exciting like that gets spoiled for you. Yeah. I can't decide between watching your current content live or your AC Shadows video. Yeah. Yeah, I actually, so it is 1:20 where I'm at. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream here so that we can start editing and cutting stuff together. I'm going to go check on the missus upstairs and check on the kids. Go watch the AC Shadows video. It's up. It's probably too long, but go check that out. And of course, subscribe to all the channels if you haven't already. Okay. I love you guys desperately. I will see you again very, very soon. We'll be back later tomorrow. We're going to do a later stream because Nikki and I are going to go try it's not like a group workout thing, but it's like a workout class at this gym. And we're going to try to do that in the morning and get into like the routine of doing that. So it's going to be good. Yeah, I'll show up very out of breath and sore even hours after I finished exercising. So buckle up. It's going to be a fun one. Much love. I'll see you tomorrow. Hugs and kisses. Yeah, group workout. Yeah. Wink. Much love. I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.